champion Christian Miller.
Once again with Christian Miller taking him down.
Here's college football playoff national champion Christian Miller on Tide 100.9 and 12:30 a.m. WTBC.
And welcome into this Talking Tuesday edition of the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 12:30 WTBC. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys are staying warm for sure, man. Chase, this weather. I just heard James Spann, we always have the weather bed before we jump on here. Said another freeze warning, or I guess they expected to freeze again, which I guess makes sense. It's 30-something degrees outside. I was out this morning like I always am every morning. I always go out there with my dog and get him some exercise. And man, Chase, I'm not going to lie to you. I thought it was, I know yesterday we had the whole like hail and snow type deal, but I thought it was kind of like a one-off thing. I didn't realize it was going to carry through. I guess I should have known better. It's not just going to dip down and jump right back up. But man, it kind of was teasing us, man. We were in the 70s, Chase. I mean, like, it was beautiful, nice sunny weather. I'm talking about, I was loving it, man. And now I'm looking at, I got 37. So it's heated up a little bit, but it was 34 a little bit earlier. So hope you guys are warm. That's why I got my little Columbia sweater here. Chase got his hoodie on in the studio. Again, you guys can see Chase now. If you guys want to come hang out with us both, man, check us out on the Miller's Edge live stream on YouTube or the Tide 100.9 Facebook, and of course on X now, where we stream. And we've got a lot of new listeners from X, so always you're welcome to come hang out with us on the streams. But I don't see an LSU hoodie on you today, Chase. So maybe people got to you. They got in your head. Chase, don't let them mess with you, man. If you want to wear LSU hoodie, you can wear LSU hoodie, man. We talk a whole hell of a lot about Alabama here, but you can always, we talk about all SEC. I mean, my dad's a Carolina guy. He likes Alabama. He became an Alabama fan through me. You got some LSU roots or some Louisiana roots, and Mississippi State roots, but you're a big Alabama fan now. So it's all love at the end of the day, man. We invite you to wear whatever you please here on the show. Chase, in terms of what we're going to talk about, well, number one, got to remind you at the top of the hour, we will be joined by Clint Lamb of Cover Crimson, talk some Alabama football. Again, they are off on spring break, hopefully in a much warmer place than back here in Tuscaloosa. Not too sure. I don't know, Chase. Isn't this like this cold front's like across the whole kind of East Coast right now, isn't it? So, I mean, I'd imagine even Florida might be pretty cold. I don't know the temps there. I'm sure we got some listeners in that Florida area. For a fact, I know we do. Let me know what it is in Florida. I'm kind of curious. But anyway, hopefully they're in a much warmer place than here right now. But we're still rolling. We're still talking some Alabama football. We'll catch up with Clint Lamb, get his thoughts on week one of Alabama football practice over the spring period. And again, 4 practices and a little bit of a break here, but when they come back, they hit the ground rolling. Hopefully we have a scrimmage coming up, Chase. That's kind of what I've been waiting on. I mean, I used to try to go up there as much as possible. There's all these practices, but you get to a point where it's like kind of the same thing, right? Scrimmages are just different. The intensity's there. You see some true team action. You really see how guys are fitting in. So that's kind of what I'm counting down for, and I'm excited. Now, I don't know their scrimmage schedule, but best believe we definitely will make sure we do that. I got to get a little like an 8-day preview, man. I just got to. I can't wait that long. So definitely plan on doing that. So we will talk some Alabama football. We'll talk a little Alabama basketball today. I know you guys know about the whole situation going on right now. Aiden Holloway, that whole deal. Nate Oates did speak during Hey Coach yesterday and was able to offer some insight on kind of what's going on, the latest. Number one, most importantly, you guys know I'm always uncomfortable talking about people's personal stuff like that. It's never really been my thing, but sometimes you got to discuss it a little bit because I mean it's very relevant. We're talking about we're less than a week away from March Madness, the NCAA tournament, and this is our second leading scorer. And traffic violation, that's one thing, right? But it's a little bit more serious. So maybe we'll get Adam here, our official law representation lawyer here on the show. Maybe he'll be in the chat today and we can ask him some thoughts on this. Now, I know this is Alabama law, a little bit different. We're clearly a lot more strict when it comes to what's being discussed with this particular case, but I would love to pick Adam's brain on this. Now, we are joined by Adam on Thursdays, so for sure we will definitely have plenty of time to discuss it with Adam and try to understand kind of a little bit more about the situation. Adam was, critical with helping us, helping explain everything to us about the Charles Bediako situation, which, speaking of that, Chase, I think if I saw this correctly, I think he pretty much gave up on the case. I think he requested to withdraw the appeal or something like that, if I saw that. So it sounds like You're definitely not going to have Bediako back, which I think was a long shot anyways. I don't think anybody was really banking on that. And to be fair, they almost were playing better after that whole deal anyway. But now you're without Aiden Holloway, one of your critical pieces on this team. Now, we definitely have a number of players that I think can step up, but just not the news you want to hear. But maybe Adam will be in the chat. We'll get his thoughts. But I do want to go to Nate Oates at some point, probably next segment, just to kind of get his brain on his team and kind of the route that they plan on going with everything going on. Some other news and notes to hit on this Talking Tuesday, which also means you guys are the co-hosts. You guys can call in. 12 o'clock, we got Clint Lamb, but before that, would be glad to take your phone calls, and after, of course. Some other news and notes, Chase. NFL news, right? Big trade went down this morning, and it's kind of ironic because I don't know if you watched this, but I love boxing. I've kind of gotten into the whole, what do you call it, influencer boxing, celebrity boxing type stuff. It's a big deal now, right? I mean, they're almost, okay, I wouldn't say as popular as like the true boxers. I don't want to offend boxing, the sport in general, but just let's call a spade a spade. When you see some of these names stepping into a boxing ring, it does kind of it calls your attention a little bit, right? So long story short, this weekend you had Aiden Ross's boxing event with like Blueface, who actually lost to a guy named like Chibu, I think he's a streamer or something like that. Then there's some other very controversial fighters on the card, but it was an entertaining event. But that said, I'm not gonna lie, Chase. I lost my train of thought where I was even going with this, man. I lost my train of thought where I was even going with this first. Oh, NFL news. Oh, there we go. Jalen Waddle was at the event, and they interviewed him, and they asked him if he could pick a teammate to step in the ring with, who would it be? And he chose Pat Surtain. Now, I don't know if he was predicting the future or what, but now they're going to have plenty of opportunities to box a little bit in the locker room out in Denver, because he just got traded to the Denver Broncos, where he now is going to be teaming back up with Pat Surtain. So it was kind of weird, man. He was literally interviewed like 3 days ago, if that, mentioned Pat Surtain, and then boom, a blockbuster trade goes down. Now, Denver gave up a lot to get my guy Jalen Waddle. Now, I mean, we all know how talented he is, but I'm not gonna lie, Chase, it was a little bit of a, I wouldn't say necessarily a shocker, but listen, Waddle's young. We all know how explosive he is, the playmaker that he is. I definitely understand, but they did send over this year's first round pick, as well as a late third and a fourth round pick to Miami for Jalen Waddle, then also a fourth round pick. So big time trade. And now that makes three former Bama players who were with Miami now to be shipped off. Clearly Miami's kind of in that rebuilding phase. They're starting fresh, right? I mean, they traded Minkah Fitzpatrick. They cut Tua Tagovailoa. They're going in a different direction at the quarterback position. So, it's part of the business. But what do you think about that one, Chase? I mean, Denver, you got a good young team up there, right? Sean Payton doing some good stuff. I mean, they just fell short to the New England Patriots this past season. I mean, now they're adding a weapon like Jalen Waddle, man. How do you think that's going to, go for Denver? I think it's a pretty solid move.
I love it. Miami is just going in the opposite direction. I think they're in a rebuild mode right now, which I understand. They lost their head coach. They lost Tyreek Hill, which I didn't know he was a free agent. So they're literally just trying to start fresh. So it's good for Waddle. I think it's definitely going to help his career more. I feel like he's going to be on a more superstar level, that he has a quarterback like Bo Nix who can really bolster his career. He's coming off an injury. So I think they have a good core wide receivers. Sean Payton, who at one particular time was the coach of the New Orleans Saints. So I know him very, very well. He's very offensive minded, and, he brings a winning culture. He brought the Saints their first ever Super Bowl. So he understands what it takes to win. And when you have the front office like the Broncos, like John Elway and his family, like they want to win. They know what it takes to get to that point. But I'm happy. And if that boxing match does happen between Pat Surtain and Jalen Waddle, it's for charity. So it's not like this is just a regular like boxing match. They're doing to raise money, but that's kind of funny that they're on the same team now. So
oh yeah. No, it is wild. I mean, I just saw that like a few days ago. Then I saw the news. I'm like, dang, maybe he was, I don't know, foreshadowing a little bit. Maybe he knew something was brewing. I don't know. Probably not. Probably just a coincidence. But definitely excited for. I'm with you, man. I mean, Sean Payton with a team with some key young talent. I think they can definitely keep building off of what they did last season. So I think it's a pretty good spot for them. Definitely going to be a change, right? I mean, going from Miami to Denver, that altitude up there, a little bit of a different ball game in terms of just the environment and that whole deal. But I think he's definitely going to be just fine. Bo Nix, I think, will be a good quarterback for him, and excited to see what he can do in Denver. It's been interesting keeping up with a lot of guys. There's been a number of Alabama guys finding new homes. I know Deshaun Hand, who came in my class, he just signed with the Atlanta Falcons, so he's also going to be joining forces with Tua right down the street in what we call Bryant Denny East. I know Dalvin Tomlinson signed with the Los Angeles Chargers. Jonathan Allen ended up signing with the Cincinnati Bengals. So there's a lot of movement with a lot of NFL guys. A'Shawn Robinson signed with where did A'Shawn, was it hold on, was it, let me see. I'm drawing a blank. A'Shawn signed with somebody too, because he was playing with my Panthers for a while, but he ended up signing elsewhere. Anyway, I do know LeBron re-signed with Carolina, and good for him, man, because he was an undrafted free agent with New England coming out of college, and then he ended up going and playing in I think it was USFL at the time, for like a year or so. So he got on with the Panthers, man, and he's been there since, and he's been doing a really good job, man.
So he's with the Buccaneers now.
A'Shawn is, yeah, that's right. Thank you. I was about to say, I knew he signed with another team, so he goes to our rival in the division. He was released by the Panthers, ended up signing with Tampa Bay. Yep, that's right. They went to Smitty's team, man. So a lot of movement for our former Alabama guys, but definitely excited to see what they do in their new teams, man. It's kind of crazy though, Chase, because each year that goes by, it just makes you realize like time is kind of flying, right? Like Ryan Kelly, who was the center here when I was a freshman, and was he with us in 2015 as well? I think Ryan. I played with Ryan for 2 years, I believe. I'm not mistaken. But anyway, he just retired after playing 10 seasons in the National Football League. It's just kind of crazy. Bradley Bozeman just retired. I think Bozeman ended up playing like 8. And it just makes you realize, man, things fly by, dude. Like the fact that majority of the Bama guys in the NFL now are a lot of guys that I didn't even play with, right? And I'm not even that old. A lot of them are a lot of the younger guys, right? They got here after me. So just crazy how quick that process goes and how everything just flies by. But really cool to see everybody get their new landing spots, and we'll see kind of how things end up playing out. But I will say, in terms of my Panthers, since I see Smitty in the chat, I feel like we've been making some good moves, man. I gotta show some respect. Dan Morgan's been doing his thing, man. I feel like we've definitely made some nice moves in free agency, definitely focusing on the defense this time around a little bit more. I know we've been putting a lot of attention on the offense to help Bryce Young, which they still are doing. I know we signed like a tackle and a couple other players, but we focus on receivers. We first focus on the offensive line, and now we're trying to get our defense, picking up a little bit. And I think the Panthers might be a team to watch, man. I think building around Bryce Young has definitely been very beneficial for us. So we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, Devin Lloyd, like Carson just wrote, he was a great pickup for us, and I think he's going to be a hell of a player. Needed some help on defense, and I think he can do that. All right, let's go ahead and hit a timeout to stay on schedule. When we come back, we keep on rolling right here on the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. We'll be joined by Clint Lamb at the top of the hour, talk some Alabama football. In the meantime, we'll talk some basketball and more right here on the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC.
If you need a quality zero-turn mower to cut your grass, check out the Bad Boy zero-turn mowers at Redline Power Sports, located on Highway 43 at Tierce Patton Road in Northport.
The Tuscaloosa Thread News Update is brought to you by Tuscaloosa Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, Tuscaloosa's destination for iconic Jeeps. Lease a new 2026 Chrysler Pacifica Select for $421 a month for 42 months, $39.99 due at signing.
Do you have cracks or potholes that are
now
dragging
get Brian Burns back?
Hey, I'm Chris.
Listen, if we're and again, no disrespect to Jalen Phillips, man, I think he's a good football player. But if you're going to pay him, was it 4-year, $120 million deal? Why the hell would you just let Brian Burns walk like that, man? I didn't understand that one bit. First of all, Burns is young. Like, we got drafted together. I was 23. Because I was a redshirt senior. Burns was a junior, and Burns was only like 20, maybe 21. I think Burns was I think he might have been 21 at the time when we got drafted. He was young. He was like young for a rookie. Like, he was young for his class. And I mean, the dude was, everything that you could ask for. Dude played the run well, even though he was definitely known as a pass rusher, but played the run well. Busted his ass in practice and was a great, teammate. I mean, he did. There's nothing like you could like really say that. Oh man, maybe. Nah, I thought he fit everything. I don't know why they let him walk like that. So in terms of bringing him back, I mean, he signed a big deal with the Giants, and he had a hell of a year last year. He was second in sacks, I think, behind Myles Garrett. But yeah, I don't know. Some of those moves don't make sense to me, man. No, I think Dan Morgan was our GM when we did that. Because Burns just left like 2 or 3 years ago. I think Dan Morgan, because excuse me, when I got drafted, we had Marty. What's his name? I'm forgetting his name. Anyway, it was Marty. Great guy, by the way. And then they hired the guy from Seattle, Scott something. He was there when I was there. I wasn't a huge fan of him. I'm not gonna lie to you. And I think that's it. No, and it wasn't nothing personal, man. He just, I don't know. He rubbed me the wrong way. He was, I don't know. But anyway, then they got Dan Morgan was here he was with Carolina at the time, but he was like assistant GM or something like that. And they bumped him up. But yeah, I like Dan Morgan a lot. Definitely using Brock for a big Oba push, man. Scott Fitz, yeah, that's right, Fitz or something like that. Yeah, I don't know, man. He was a weird dude, man. He went like, and I get it, it's a business. Like, not everybody's gonna be all personal, but he just really had like a weird demeanor to him, as if like he didn't, like you still like, yeah, it's a business, but you still can be like a friendly person, like know your guys, be whatever. He had to like he didn't even really care about it. He didn't like talk to hardly anybody like player wise. He didn't really none of that. It was almost like he just looked at you like everybody was just like a chess piece for him. Like even someone like the big name guys. It was weird, man. His demeanor was weird. Like Dan Morgan's not like that. Like I like Dan Morgan. But yeah, in terms of that whole Brock and Oba thing, man, that was dope. I'm not gonna lie, that was dope. I don't know what they're going to do in terms of the match because I'm like, part of me feels like it's a little too early to give Oba that dub right now. Like, I'm not saying it's too early, but at the same time, I feel like if you could push that down the line, kick it down the road a little bit, I think it would help build up some more hype too. I feel like it's just kind of happened kind of quick for you just to put over immediately, but we'll see. But at least they kind of finally got a little bit more hype for WrestleMania. And welcome back into this Talking Tuesday edition of the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. I keep forgetting, we got like a whole bunch of wrestling fans that watch the show, Chase. So I saw Jeremy comment about Raw last night. It is Talking Tuesday. We can take a couple minutes real quick. People will be patient, I think. You think Raw was a little bit better last night, Chase? I'm not gonna lie to you. I think everything was much better from the whole start of the show with Oba, power slamming, power bombing Brock out through the ring, which was fire. I mean, that was impressive, man. Because Brock is a big dude, and that was probably, he probably got the most extension I've ever seen him get with Brock. So shout out to Brock for the way he sold. I mean, I thought it was really good. And then also, like Jeremy also mentioned, the Penta and the Dragon Lee match, really good. There's only 2 like low lights last night. I would say the Maxine and Natty. That match is, man. Every time, man. I hate it. There's just no crowd reaction. It's tough to watch. It's a tough watch for sure. And then the end with Roman and Punk, it was underwhelming to me, man. Like the last line is, "Oh,
Dude,
you're old."
I'm so happy you said that. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It was, yeah, I don't know. I was kind of confused on that. I was like, okay, everything he said so far with this feud, and all of a sudden, "Oh, you're old." That's what really got him across the line. I was like, I don't know how I'm feeling that. I almost feel like they could have swapped. They could have put Punk and Roman earlier than had the Brock and Oba whole deal at the end. That would have been one hell of a way to close out the show. Anyway, you guys know we love wrestling over here. We're not going to talk too much about it because I know you guys definitely want to talk some football, and we're going to do that. But we always got to show some love to wrestling. Because, I mean, look, listen, wrestling's cool. If you guys have it, is cool, man. There's nothing wrong with being a big wrestling fan, even when you're older. And hell, maybe we'll get some wrestlers on here one day. That would be cool. Maybe we'll get a some football again. We got Clint Land coming up at 12. Chase, I want to talk a little bit about the whole Aiden Holloway situation because that is, pretty relevant right now. So we all know the deal, right? His home was searched. They found over, I think it was closer to 2. Initially, I think they said it was over a pound, but now I think they're saying it was over 2 pounds of marijuana, and clearly that's a big problem here in the state of Alabama, 100%. So initially, they said he was removed from campus, which is kind of interesting. I mean, you got spring break going on right now, so I don't even know how the process works in terms of like him trying to maybe, I don't know, appeal these process. I don't know. But I do know we heard from head coach Nate Oates last night on Hey Coach, and he was able to offer a little bit more insight onto the latest of what's going on with this whole situation. I'm just going to go ahead and say this before we hear a quick clip. I don't anticipate him playing anytime soon. I mean, because at least in my opinion, again, I'm happy to hear from Adam and get his thoughts, but sounds like a little bit more of a serious situation, right, than just your typical little traffic stop, traffic violation deal. So I don't think we see him anytime soon while they figure out the kinks of the situation. So Chase, if you don't mind, let's go ahead and hear from Coach Oates. If you can just let it run initially, kind of his response on that, and get the latest on the Aiden Holloway situation with Alabama men's basketball.
I mean, look, we've got standards in our program, and we've got ways we've held our guys accountable, and we try to keep everything in house. Obviously, some of the situations you can't, and this is one of those. And situation's a little different. When we found out about what was going on this morning, I found out this morning. I guess it all went down this morning. So we had to suspend him pending the investigation by the UA, Office of Student Conduct, and we're certainly disappointed in his behavior. But that being said, we still love him. He's still our guy. We're helping him get the help that he needs, and we're gonna continue to help him whatever way we can. But as far as our team goes, I thought we had a great practice. We're preparing to play without him this weekend. We're preparing for Hofstra, who's very good. They got a good backcourt of their own, and I thought our guys, while at the same time, he's Aiden's one of our guys, and everybody, wants to wrap their arms around love him. Everybody makes some mistakes in life, but they also understand we've got to move on, right. And we've got a whole other group of guys, and the team's got to go play Friday. So I thought we did a good job of that this morning, kind of addressing the situation, what we currently knew at the time, and got our guys focused on practice. And I thought we had a really good practice, and I think we've got some guys that are coming along, starting to hit their peak and play their best basketball at the right time. And I think they continued today. Practice, I thought, Trelly was a really good leader. Thought he stepped up, made some good statements. I think LeBaron was good. I thought we're seeing the best version of Taylor we've seen all year. And, and there's some other guys in their peaks. I thought Noah played well Friday, and I thought he was good today too.
Cool.
Ooh, I got to hit. I put
that one over there.
It's this one over here.
There you go.
This one says coach. That one says guest. I figured I should take the one that says coach.
It's a good call.
It's 2 weeks in a row I've had to sneeze. I think it's all the pollen out there. If you go look at it down on the lake behind my house, it's like all yellow. So I have to hit this when I sneeze. Is that what I do?
Coach.
From now on, I'll hit that when I sneeze. But no, I think Taylor and Noah both played pretty well Friday. The team took a loss, but those guys played well. I think if we were going to lose a guy, losing him in the backcourt would be the place where we've got the most depth. So, LeBaron, Reitzel, Houston, Amari, Jaleel, we've got good backcourt depth. Just means Amari will play less minutes at like the 4, which is fine because Taylor's playing great. London's playing great. Not Noah gave us good minutes. So I think a lot, we can get a little bigger. We're going to have to do that. But I did tell our team, this team more than any team I've ever coached is better equipped to handle a situation like this. Well, I don't know how many games we went into where we had a game time decision. Guy warms up and we got to decide whether he's going to play or not an hour before the game. We had a lot of games where Houston's the only guy been available all year long. So we've won plenty of games with guys not available. So our guys will be ready to go against Hofstra. And Hofstra's very good, and we're going to have to be ready to play.
Tell us about them.
I mean, very good backcourt. Got a kid, Cruz Davis, that's outstanding. You know, obviously Aaron Strata came from the program. Aaron was really good for us, you know, helped lead us to a Final Four. They've also got a freshman, Preston Edmead, that's really good too. So the two of those guys kind of create most of their offense. They got good role players. They got some shooters around them to space the floor. They got, you know, bigs that play hard, shoot their starting center and backup center combined for 11 offensive rebounds in the tournament championship.
So that was head coach Nate Oates yesterday. Speaking at hey coach, addressing the Aiden Holloway situation and giving us the latest on how that whole deal is being handled, which, you know, to be expected, right? You know, it's going to be handled internally. He's not going to give too many details on what they're doing. No different than what you get with any program, right? They're not going to sit there and say everything that's going on. Plus, there's an ongoing investigation. But like he mentioned, Chase, you know, to be fair, they do have a number of players in the backcourt. Yes, it's definitely a big loss. There's no denying that. Second leading scorer on the team. But they have a few more bodies and with that part of the team than they would maybe down low. So that is something to consider. But definitely just not the news you want to hear as you gear up and you're about a week away from your first game in the NCAA tournament, man. So definitely we'll be monitoring the situation. We got to hit a timeout. When we come back, we'll discuss that a little bit further. Plus, we'll start talking some Alabama football. Clint Lamb coming up at the top of the hour. We're going to discuss the latest with Alabama football 1 week into spring practice and more, all coming up right here on the Miller's Edge. Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Quick timeout. We'll be right back.
Hey, it's Christian Miller, and I wanted to tell you about our friends over at Lamparello Law Education and Advocacy, founded by attorney and professor Adam Lamparello, helping students at every level with mentoring, exam prep, applications, and...
Joey, what's up? Sent you a couple logo samples. Let me know what direction you want to go. All right, cool, man. I appreciate that. I'll definitely check those out when we finish up, man. Thank you. I'm excited. I'll definitely take a look. Crystal, what's up? Once you get to a certain amount, and then it becomes, no. And I think I want, let me pull it up because I was reading something where it talked about maybe something that he had mentioned about, you know, it's just, you know, personal use type deal. But like you mentioned, when you have a certain amount, it doesn't really matter what your intentions are. It automatically is going to qualify for, I guess, like you mentioned, distribution. So, you know, as much as it's unfortunate with him not being able to play, I'm more, you know, concerned with him as a person. I mean, that's definitely a very, very tough situation to find yourself in. It's just disappointing when you think about it, because it's like, man, you know, I'm sure this guy has plenty of aspirations and, you know, goals that he wants to accomplish, and then to have something like this happen right now as you get ready to, you know, enter the NCAA tournament, man, it's unfortunate. But I think the biggest thing is, guys have to make better decisions, man. You know, I know we live in a day and an age where a lot of people, that's a lot more common nowadays, right? And I get it. In our state, it's going to be a lot more strict. There's other places where, you know, things like that aren't such an issue. However, the amount, man, is just that you got to make smarter decisions, especially when you know you're in a position like that, right? When you're a member on the basketball team here, you got to make smarter decisions, right? I mean, that's the best thing I really say about that. I mean, it's like I feel for him, but at the same time, I mean, he should have known better, man. I mean, should have known better. Choice we make, yeah, no, exactly. You know, it's like on one end I feel bad, but it's a tough lesson that he's going to have to learn. But hopefully, like Coach Ovis, they're going to help him out in turn any way that they can, and, you know, probably provide him any type of counsel that they can do to make sure he's all right. But Jake said that's roughly $200,000. Right? I'll be honest with you, man. I don't know anything about that stuff. Like, honestly, I really don't. Is that true though? That's like $200,000 worth? I would search it on AI, but I'm like kind of nervous. I don't want to look that up on AI and make it seem like I'm trying to find that out for any other purpose in the radio. 130 times the legal amount for medical use. Holy crap. Yeah, that's goodness gracious, man. I'll be honest with you guys. I don't really know what to say on that. I mean, I have a hard time believing somebody like him who's very successful as an athlete here at the University of Alabama. I have a very hard time believing that he would be doing anything other than personal use with that. But when you're talking about that much, I mean, I could see a world where maybe he just, I don't know, he knows he's busy during the season. So he was probably thinking that he would just have a stash of it, right? That way he wouldn't have to worrying about, I don't know. Like I said, it's a little bit out of my realm. I mean, you guys probably know a little bit more about that stuff than I do. Not even probably, for a fact you do. Directly from Google AI. A pound at a dispensary generally costs between $1,000 and $1,400 legally, though prices can vary. Okay, so that's way different than. Wait, hold on. I mean, I gotta be careful talking about all this on live radio, but I am, y'all guys, y'all kind of piqued my interest now, man. I'm trying to, is it $200,000 worth or like $20,000 worth? That's a big difference. And welcome back into this Talking Tuesday. This is the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. All right, we just heard from Coach Oates discussing the latest with his guard, Aiden Holloway, who currently is away from the team. Chase, did he officially say, I don't think he officially said he's like removed from the basketball team, right? I think it's just he's been removed from campus. Do I have that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, so I think, while the investigation's still ongoing, they're kind of just letting him handle that off the court, and he won't be with the team. And who knows how long this is going to take. I did see a tweet that they did assign a judge on the case. So clearly the whole deal is undergoing investigation and all that good stuff. But I'm trying to figure out in the chat, because I'll be honest with you, I don't know any about this stuff. I really don't. I'm not just saying that. I genuinely don't know anything about this stuff. But we had some numbers, kind of different values in the chat. One was saying that it was like $200,000 worth of stuff. I was like, there's no way. There's just no way. But I don't think it was that much. But still, it clearly was a lot. Smitty, now is not the time for jokes, man. So call Adam. Well, okay, all jokes aside, we're talking about a legal issue. So you're right, though. If you guys do find yourself in an issue, thanks for the segue, Smitty. I do appreciate that. I mean, that's a fair point, which hopefully you guys don't find yourself in this type of situation, but whether it be any type of legal, it could be academic misconduct matters, it could be NIL, it could be whatever the case may be. It could be a car accident that you're trying to legally make sure you're covered with that. Make sure you guys do consider our friends over at Lamparello Law Education and Advocacy, founded by attorney and Professor Adam Lamparello. Like we talked about, all of those legal representation matters, criminal defense matters, you name it, NIL, First Amendment cases, but also so much more, right? Subject matter mastery, test taking preparation, application strategy, personal statements, resumes, long-term academic and professional planning for high school, college, graduate students, and young adults, you name it. They've got you covered. So if you guys are looking for that representation, make sure you guys check them out. Not only is it strong and guided representation, but they will do it at a very affordable rate. And that's so important, especially nowadays. So make sure you guys check them out at Lamparello Law, 201-317-5115. Or you can always send them an email at adam@lamparello-law.com. Website coming soon, lamparello-law.com. Again, that is Lamparello Law, the official legal representation here on the Miller's Edge. All right, so just going off of some of the messages in the chat, Chase, I think it's probably more so around like 8,000 or so worth. I think that's what I'm reading here. So there's still a whole heck of a lot of stuff. Now, I want to say I want to make, the problem is I'll read these things like the day before, and I'm like scared to say it publicly because I'm like, I don't want to mess it up. But I think he had mentioned only his personal use, right? Which I'm pretty sure that would be the case, right? I mean, the guy is a really good basketball player. Hopefully he doesn't especially with NIL nowadays. I don't think he really has too much to worry about in terms. I mean, our basketball team, I feel like they're taken care of, man. Not a pocket watch, but if you see the basketball players parking lot, man, them boys, they got some nice vehicles over there, Chase. They're riding clean over there. But anyway, that said, it does seem a little tricky because, to Jeremy's point, from what I read was, if you are found guilty of what he is charged with, I think initially charged with, which is like first degree possession, and then also failure to affix a tax stamp, which I think they throw at you when you have a like a very high amount of an illegal substance like that's not registered for like medical use, something like that. Anyway, I saw initially that it could carry a sentence of like 10 years, man. Now, you know, always when they say like up to, that's like the max. And I see Chase's face kind of like, oh my goodness. But yeah, I know when you hear that and see that, it does kind of scare the crap out of you. However, and again, this is like me searching on AI. So, I mean, take that for what it's worth. Again, once we get into contact with Adam, we'll have a much better idea. But it did say for like first time offenders and people that don't really have a criminal background, typically the average, I guess, sentence or I guess result is normally around like probation, like no real jail time, but like probation or things like that. Normally they said that you can kind of, I guess, plead to like a lesser charge is what I'm getting at. End up getting like probation or something. Again, I know everybody's worried about getting him on the court. I'm more worried about that because I'm like, man, that just, I would hate, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, that's a terrible situation all around. Anyway, so that's what I've read. I'm sure you guys probably know a little bit more than me, but we did hear from Coach O, so there's that. I just wanted to at least, again, I hate talking about that stuff because it's like, you know, as a former player, like I always try to put myself in their shoes, and I'm like, man, like I don't want to add to people broadcasting all about this, but you know, at this point, it's literally all over the national news. I mean, I'm even seeing like the pages on X, like not like gossip pages, but like, what do they call, you know, the pages that post all like the big headline stories. I mean, they've even got a hold of it, Chase. I'm like, oh God, man, this is it's pretty rough. So yeah, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad, but hopefully everything will work out. Any thoughts on that, Chase, before we segue into a little bit more football talk, man? Anything that I might have missed or that you want to add to it?
I think, and you spoke about it. We have to remember that Aiden is human. You know, he there's a lot of things that athletes deal with behind the scenes that a lot of people don't realize. Now, we don't excuse the behavior, but I think people have to realize it's more than just a basketball court. It's more than just a team. Yeah, Allen's playing well. They're facing Hofstra soon, but you have to look at it from a standpoint that he is a person. You know, because what if you're in that situation? You're waking up and you're seeing your face all over social media. And I just feel like people have to realize that even though he made a silly mistake and he's gonna have to pay for that, he's still human. He's still in college. You know, he's a junior. He still has a year left of eligibility, if I'm not mistaken. And he understands that, you know, he has to deal with it. You know, I don't think he's put a statement out yet, but people just have to realize it's more than just sports, you know, because you're right. This goes beyond just college because this might affect his draft stock. Now, weed is legal in the NBA, but you know how NBA owners are. They're very strict about that.
I didn't know that. Oh, dang. Is that new?
I think it's been cleared for a little bit. It's not like this big thing where everybody is going. I know last year was a big thing because they weren't really drug testing their players anymore. I think something got passed. It was a big thing. So, but yeah, I just to wrap it, I just feel like with Aiden, like he's a great player, a great player. He was shooting the lights out. He's had some injuries this season, but he was really finding his niche. But you know, sometimes people just have a lot going on behind the scenes, and you just never know. So I appreciate you, Christian, bringing light to that because I've just seen too much on social media of the negative side of he should have done this, and you know, he's getting paid NIL money. Okay. Well, I want to look in your history. Like, you got to give people grace. Like, some people just have too much going on.
Man, no, listen, I appreciate you saying that because you're right. I don't think people understand. I mean, these guys are regular human beings just like you and I. And that, you know, they put their socks and shoes on the same way. I tell people that all the time. Like, when I meet people and they're like so excited, I'm like, man, at the end of the day, like, look, I'm just like you. I just happen to play sports, right? I just played sports at a very, you know, special university, and we were able to, you know, accomplish some special stuff. But at the end of the day, man, I had to put my socks and shoes on the same way, just like these guys do. And everybody's going to make mistakes. And that's why I get uncomfortable even just talking about it. Because like you mentioned, I mean, the guy made a mistake. And yes, this is part of the consequences. And especially nowadays with the social media, you know, back in the day, like my dad would be the first one to tell you, them dudes, I mean, he'll tell stories about Lawrence Taylor, his teammate in New York. They had cell phones and social, well, I'm sure they had cell phones, but you get what I'm saying. Cell phones with internet connectivity and social media and stuff. Lord knows what the hell would have been out on the internet, right? Or what kind of trouble they would have gotten in. And then to even take it a step further, and listen, again, I'm not like making excuses for the guy, but I do want to be clear. I don't partake in it, but do you know how many athletes, like guys I played with in terms of football, that partake in that? Right. And for whatever reason, some guys, it's more like football is really hard on your body. There's a lot of guys, right, that they would rather take that approach than, do something like, the painkillers that are prescribed. That's been a big thing. Now, football, the NFL is different. Like, that's why I didn't know the NBA allowed that for their athletes, right? Because in the NFL, it's not allowed. And you definitely can be suspended and get in some big trouble. But it's always a thing. In the NFL, what people do is, you get basically, there's like windows to get drug tested, right? So during fall camp in the NFL, that's like the main test, right? That you'll get. Now you can get tested in the off season as well. And they'll come to wherever you're at. If you're on vacation in the Bahamas, they'll come to the Bahamas and they'll test you if they have you on there. And I can't remember, but certain tests have certain things. But the big test is like during fall camp, and it's like randomly selected. But the way it works is, they always joke about it in the league, because once you get that big test during training camp, you won't get tested again pretty much for the remainder of the season, right? So that's when guys kind of, after they get that big one during fall camp, the guys that do I don't want to say like recreationally use it, but you get what I'm saying. The guys that do use it, that's when they would do it. Jake says it's legal in the NFL now. Did they change that as well? I wasn't too sure. I feel like they might have made some changes there, but regardless though, it's become a thing where a little bit more common now. And on top of that, Chase, you know how many college kids, whether it's these fraternity guys or whatever, again, I'm not making it, not trying to justify it, but I'm just saying, like, it is unfortunate because, because he's an athlete, his face is going to be plastered all over the internet. Like, he's like the worst criminal ever. But I mean, there's kids at college campuses all across the country that, they're not an athlete. So they get in trouble. No one really cares. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, if you really Google and look up the inmate search, you can find them, but you're not going to see this on Yahoo and ESPN. And, so it is unfortunate. So I do feel for him definitely on the personal side of things, because it is unfortunate. But like everybody else has said, consequences, right, come with your actions, whether it's good or bad. And you just got to face them. So anyway, let's hit a timeout. We got to stay on schedule. We're due for a break. When we come back, we'll slowly start segueing into some football talk, because at the top of the hour, we got our guy Clint Lamb joining us from Cover Crimson, where we're going to get his thoughts through 1 week of spring ball and 4 practices in spring break going on right now. But we're going to kind of summarize what we've seen so far through 1 week of spring ball. All coming up right here on the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Quick timeout. We'll be right back.
If you find yourself in a wreck, keep 3 things in mind. First, call the police. Second, take pictures of the scene. Third, call me. I'm attorney Stephen Mizrano, and I win. My firm is committed to fighting the big insurance companies and making sure you get the money you deserve. Call today for a free consultation. I don't get paid unless I win for you. Call 800-8000 or visit mezwins.com. I've got this.
No representations made that the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
Do you have cracks or potholes that are dragging down your property's appeal? Hey, I'm Christian Miller, and at Asphalt Restoration, we
can't drive down the street in Atlanta without at least one car past you smelling like it. I'll be honest with you, and it sounds like I'm defending all this. I hate the crap. I hate the smell. I hate I can't stand it. But also, I'm a realist, and I'm like, there's I don't know however many states now, but it's a lot more acceptable than it once was. But the law is the law, right? And if here it's strict like that, and you're in a position where you're not just a regular student, you got to be smart, man. You got to be smart. You got to make better choices. Yeah, did they might have changed that, Jake. You're right. I think they might have changed that rule. I'm not 100% sure, but it was just funny though. Everybody, like, you would be surprised. Guys would celebrate when they were selected to get drug tested during fall camp in the NFL because that meant like, all right, I think the way it works was PED test they can do whenever. Like they'll hit you with like PED test whenever. That's why guys, you'll hear about it, like they have a big game and they get popped with one of those. But in terms of like I don't know what they call it, maybe like illicit drugs or stuff like that, that's like a one-time deal during camp. So once guys got hit with that, they would be like celebrating on their way out of the restroom because they know now they can go indulge and whatever. And I say like that, like in a bag. Like I said, some guys genuinely use it for like pain relief and stuff like that. The cash and paraphernalia larger amounts was the kickers. Yeah, that probably, made a big difference as well. I would assume. But when they say I mean, does that mean like stuff that he would maybe be using himself? Or excuse me, or something like a scale? I don't know. There's a difference between a choice and a mistake. Recreational is legal in Arizona, but you can still get popped for DUI. Yeah, and that's because, I mean, think about it. It's like alcohol, right? I mean, it's legal to drink alcohol, but it's not legal to operate a vehicle or machinery under the influence. So, I mean, that makes sense. And again, I want to be clear. I'm not like making excuses about anything. Like, yeah, that's what I was about to say. I mean, if it's something. Oh, yes. Okay. Thanks, guys. But see, that's what I'm confused about, because if it's like something that, dang, how you guys know all this stuff? Hold on, man. Either y'all are good with criminal defense, or you guys, we all got going on during the show. No, I'm just messing with you guys. But see, like some of the things you guys listed, I feel like would be personal use. So that's what confuses me about. I don't know. We need Adam on here, man. That's what we need. We need Adam on here so he can really answer this stuff. I know he has ties to Georgia. I'm assuming Georgia's law is probably a little similar to Alabama. I don't know about New Jersey, but I'm sure he could do his research, man. Adam's a smart guy. He's a smart guy, so he could probably help us out. I got you. No, I'm just giving you a hard time, Jeremy. I'm just messing with you guys. And welcome back into this Talking Tuesday. This is the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. All right, now we kind of got that conversation out the way. Not that it was a bad conversation. Not just get a little uncomfortable talking about people's personal stuff, but thought it was, kind of important to cover it because it is one of the biggest deals going on, especially when it comes to Alabama men's basketball, who we know is about to have their first matchup in the NCAA tournament. Clearly, this will affect them. Doesn't sound like Nate Oates is necessarily too concerned with on-the-court dealings right now. Maybe he is a little bit more than he's leading on, but I don't know. We'll have to see, but definitely very unfortunate news. Let's segue into some football talk, Chase, before we get Clint Lamb here on the show. Yesterday, we talked with Landon Tengwall. Big shout out to him. If you guys haven't checked out his work, man, definitely go do that. He's been doing a lot of breakdowns on X for sure. Posts a lot of clips there, kind of like what we do sometimes. But then also he has a YouTube channel at Landon Tengwall Show that he posts a lot of good videos. And we've been talking a lot about a number of things. We talked about the offensive line, clearly the whole Jackson Lloyd situation. We talked about the running back position yesterday. Chase talked about some of these defensive players that have been highlighted through spring camp. Chase, I don't think I've asked you yet, man. So we got a few minutes where we get Clint on here. Any developments out of spring football through 1 week that you would say have maybe caught your attention? Things that you feel like maybe a little bit of a surprise, maybe not so much of a surprise, just things that have stood out to you so far through 4 practices of Alabama football this spring?
I think just the overall mood of the team. A lot of people, what I've heard, just nervous. Just didn't know what to expect because of the new squad, different position coaches all over the place. Just really trying to find their niche, their identity. And from what I've heard from Coach Womack and Coach Grubb is everybody's on a tee. I think you need that specifically this early in the game when you're trying to rewrite what happened last year. Like I said, with a bunch of new players, I think the offensive line definitely caught me off guard. I'm not going to lie to you, Christian, because and we've talked about this before, but you have so many offensive linemen that are on your roster, and you're already naming a left tackle. Like, I understand you want to get everybody, in a competitive mood and a competitive way, but I feel like that can really destroy some players, especially maybe people have promised some things behind closed doors, or it's just like, the reason why I transferred over to Alabama if I'm an offensive lineman because I had the opportunity to try, but then I'm like, why am I hearing a left tackle is being named and that's my position? Like, what am I going to do? Should I just leave? Because the transfer portal at this point, there's no rules. So I just feel like the offensive line definitely caught me off guard a little bit, but I've heard good things about the QB race between Keelan and Mac. I think that's definitely going to push them further. So a lot of good things I've heard from Spring.
Yeah, I would say this. I mean, at the end of the day, I know we make a big deal about him announcing the starter at left tackle. I don't think it's going to be like a make or break situation at all, right? And I know some people are like, man, like, why is it such a big deal? We've already discussed why it just wasn't necessarily ideal. But at the end of the day, man, throw the young guy in there, let him get those reps. Landon talked about having the new guy, Racing Delgado, go against Terrence Green every single day, get him that exposure, right? Get him, acclimated to going against SEC caliber players, right? Every single day in practice. And, you're going to get the same thing, Jackson Lloyd starting at left tackle, right? That means he's going to be matching up against Yonze Pierre consistently when they go through team drill, right? So that's going to definitely, give him some quality reps because Yonze is going to be one of the top edge guys in the country this upcoming season. So go ahead and, throw him in that fire in practice. And I do want to be clear, though, you technically could do that regardless without naming him a starter because I know people kind of were like, when they were responding, Chase, they were thinking that like, oh, well, that's just going to get him ready. And I know I'm agreeing, yes, like in team drill, but again, you can still do all those things just without publicly acknowledging it. That's just kind of the whole point there. One thing that I was thinking about, because I saw this article come up, Chase, was talking about the versatility with this football team and how that's really kind of taking center stage in terms of this defense, right? You hear Kane Womack talk about that. And well, I'll be the first one to tell you, I was a versatile guy. I had, versatility and it was great. However, I want to almost play like devil's advocate. I almost wonder, Chase, like, is there like do you agree that there's maybe a fine line of like being versatile and really focusing on guys' versatility, their ability to play in multiple positions, do a number of different things? But in my eyes, and this is just my opinion, I'm just curious what you think. Sometimes if you try to lean too hard into versatility, kind of like what we talked about with the running game, being a master of all, but jack of all trades, but a master of none. I almost wonder if like that's something that they might need to consider. Like, don't get too heavy into the versatility piece on defense. And here's why I say that. Because there's a few things that I know we need to improve on, right? We need to consistently stop the run better this upcoming season. And we need to force more pressure on the quarterback on a consistent basis, especially with just, standard 4-man rush, right? Without feeling the need to dial up pressures and simulated pressures, blitzes, fires, all that, consistently. And I was kind of thinking about that when I hear people, because again, I'll be the first one to tell you, versatility is definitely very beneficial. And it's important to have that. But I think you also have to draw a line where you don't want to be too versatile. You're leaning so far in that direction where then you kind of become what we've talked about the running game, where you're not really a master of much. And then you're kind of, I look at it like this: you could be really good at several things, and maybe kind of there might be a couple areas that a little not necessarily under par, but you get my point. Or you could just be kind of like average across the board in a certain number of things. Like I'm thinking, like in order to stop the run, like versatility up front would be nice. I'll use that as an example. It'd be great to have players that can move across the defensive lines and line up in multiple positions. But the reality is you're not going to have like a number of guys that are going to be elite at lining up all across the defensive line. Can they do it? Yes. But they're probably going to be average at certain spots, right? Versus if you just had, man, we got some dogs that play D-tackle. We don't need them going past the 4-eye, right? They're going to play the 4-eye. They'll play a 3. maybe a 2-eye, maybe even bump down the nose if it's like a sub package. But those are interior defensive tackles. But when I start hearing, hey, we got this guy who can play bandit, and he can bump it to the 3. Hell, we can even play him at no. Like sometimes I kind of think like, if you start leaning too much into that, you run the risk of maybe like not really excelling in certain, does that make sense? It might sound kind of confusing, but I was just kind of thinking about that. And I'm curious to see how that plays out. Now, we're a long ways to go from that. But just remember, you heard it here first. If that does come up during the season, remember I mentioned that because that is something to consider. If you lean too much into versatility, sometimes it kind of lowers the, I guess, like the eliteness that you can kind of find on your team. Might sound kind of weird the way I'm explaining it. Maybe I'm not explaining it great, but definitely think about it. I think it will make sense in some time. We got to hit a timeout. We got Clint Lamb coming up after the top hour break from Cover Crimson. Make sure you guys stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. We'll talk with him, get his thoughts on week 1 of Alabama football spring practice, see who he thinks is rising right now, whose stock is increasing. I don't think we can really say anybody's stock is decreasing. But we'll talk about some of those names to keep an eye out for through 1 week right here on the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Quick timeout. We'll be right back. All right, let's see. Yeah, I don't know if that might have been a little confusing. Hopefully I explained that better than it was kind of coming off. But basically what I'm getting at is like the example, if you have like a team where our D tackles are D tackles. These guys are dominant D tackles, man. They're physical against the run. They rush the quarterback. We're not worried about flexing them all across the line. Like we need them to be those dominant D tackles that they are. Like think about like, I hate comparing. I'm just going off of the team I played with, right? Like our D tackles, like we weren't trying to ask them to go play out as an end or do all these things. Like it was, hey man, just do what you do. Now we did have versatility with our outside backers, which is required when you base out of a 3-4, but you play a lot of nickel. So that's fair, but that's like one position. Everybody else is our middle backers were our middle backers, right? Outside of the very few guys like a Rashawn Evans, I had some experience playing some middle backer in the spring, but it wasn't like a, hey man, we try to have everybody on our defense be able to play multiple positions. That's kind of the difference that I'm trying to explain here. Again, it might not be anything. It might be all positives. That's just something that I always just kind of question. Will Justin Hill and Yanze Pierre be the new cheetah package? We'll have to see. I'm trying to think of last year. I'm trying to think. I don't think Kane Womack used a whole bunch. I don't think he ever really got into the whole cheetah / Raptors package, which was like 3 outside backers on the field. Remember the last time, I want to say it was Coach Saban's last year in 23, where it was Chris Braswell, Q Robinson, and Dallas Turner. I think maybe that was the last time we really seen that whole deal. I could see them maybe doing something like that this year if you threw in Yanze, Justin, and Zulu maybe. But again, those are only for like 3rd down. All indications are it's 3rd and long. We know that they're throwing the football. Maybe something like that. It really just depends. I mean, you only do those packages when you have guys that are like all good pass rushers, right? Like with the Panthers, we did the same thing. We had Bruce Irvin, we had Mario Addison, and we had Brian Burns. Like that, we called it our NASCAR package. Mario played like the 3. He lined up over the guard, like a stand-up guard. Or he lined up like a stand-up 3, right? Like he hovered over the guard, and we worked a whole bunch of games. But then we'd have one guy go to the field, one guy go to the boundary. But I don't think I remember Kane Womack doing that too much since he's been here. Yeah, jack of all trades, master of none. Isn't that what I ended up saying that, right? You might be behind, Dwight. I think I messed it up the first time I said it, but I think I corrected it. Did I not say that? Jack of all trades, master of none. Regardless, yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at. Like, only thing I worry about when you go too heavy into the whole versatility thing is that. Like, it's sometimes you're not really mastering much. You're just like, hey, this guy can do this. I mean, yeah, a guy can do it, but is he excelling at that, or is he just doing it? Is he capable of doing it, right? And welcome back into this Talking Tuesday. This is the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. All right, hour number 2 officially underway. Now it's time to go to the phone lines where we're joined by our guest of today, Clint Lamb of Cover Crimson. Clint, welcome in, man. Happy spring break to you. How's everything going?
It's doing fantastic. How you doing today, Christian?
Man, I can't complain, man. Another day, another dollar, another day of talking some Alabama football and plenty more. We've found ourselves in that whole basketball conversation. Kind of hard not to with everything going on there. But now we're going to talk some football with you right now, Clint. Man, we're 1 week into spring ball, man. These guys are on spring break. They got a week off. But we got to talk about week 1, man. Any big, I guess, observations that or takeaways that you've come away with, Clint, through 1 week of spring ball? We've had 4 practices, 2 in just helmets, 1 in shells, and I think 1 full padded practice now. Had some bombshells come out from Ryan Grubb, going ahead and naming Jackson Lloyd the starting left tackle before they had a whole padded practice, man. So that was definitely interesting. But anything that's really just stood out to you so far through week 1?
Yeah, obviously when you go from thinking that 80% of your, 5 starters along your offensive line, those starting spots are up for grabs, to 60% have already been kind of solidified or confirmed, that's going to change things up as far as how you view the offensive line. I think it's got some benefits as far as we talk about the importance of continuity and wanting to kind of commit to certain guys and allowing those guys to kind of work alongside one another in jail. Well, you've done that with at least 3 of your starters at this point, so that's encouraging. But some people will obviously believe it's a little early and a little surprising, but that would be one. I think Daniel Hill looks fantastic from a physical standpoint. I think exactly what he needed to do as far as dropping weight, he has so far done, and I think he will continue to do. Xavier Crowell not being really available fully yet due to a soft tissue issue, according to Ryan Grubb. This is the guy that we think can push for early playing time as a true freshman, and him not being available, at least not to the full extent, early on in spring practice, maybe that kind of puts them behind a little bit, but it's also still really early, so you can't really determine one way or another. But yeah, there's just a lot going on, a lot of intrigue, a lot of talk about Jaira Edwards, and we all were discussing him as a Husky and a guy who could get on the field pretty early for Alabama, and then you turn around and you learn that it's more so Chuck McDonald acting as that Husky too behind Red Morgan, and then it's Ray Kirkpatrick Jr. playing both safety and Husky, and Jaira Edwards is more so playing safety right now. What does that mean? Obviously, it's a pretty loaded position group at safety, so does that mean that he's not really going to have a clear path to early playing time? Do they eventually work him some at Husky? These are all questions that we still have, but yeah, there was a lot that we learned so far, in spring practice.
I want to start there and kind of piggyback off of that, because that is an interesting development that you mentioned. I mean, because you look at Jaira Edwards Clinton, I mean, the guy looks about as college ready as one could be coming out of high school. I mean, 6'2", 220. I mean, the guy looks the part. Watching his high school tape and just seeing him move around here through week 1. I mean, the guy, I mean, he looks every bit of it. But you mentioned it. I mean, you do have Red Morgan, who received a lot of praise from Kane Womack, who basically said, I mean, he's playing on a whole nother level. And we all know he's always been that tone setter. I mean, he's not the biggest guy. I think he's put on a little bit of weight. But, I mean, you're really excited about him coming back and what he can be in terms of in that full-time Husky role, not really splitting reps with Deshaun Jones. But then you mentioned the guys behind him, Chuck McDonald and even Dre Kirkpatrick, who also is another young guy that's probably going to have a much larger role this upcoming season. So you mentioned him playing at safety, Clint. I mean, do you feel like, we all know dime, right? Dime defense, you get 6 DBs on the field. That's sometimes a way that they can get young players on there. I know that was a way to get, DJ Lee on the field as a freshman. Do you think Jaira Edwards is a guy that maybe they, as big as he is, I mean, one could argue he could even maybe work at some dime linebacker if you really wanted to in certain packages. Do you think that might be the case, or it might just be a situation where he's a young guy, there's a lot of talent in front of him, maybe he truly is just going to have to wait his turn? Or do you think they could get creative for a guy like that just appears to have, I mean, he's, exuberating all the tools and traits that you would want out of a talented freshman?
Well, number one, Jaira is one of those guys that we all pegged for being a potential early contributor for Alabama. the clearest, easiest path to some sort of significant role was that Husky position behind Red Morgan. We know they like to rotate at all those defensive back spots. We know that, when you talk about corner and you bring in Carmelo O'Neal, we thought Chuck McDonald was going to be playing out there, and of course he still could, but we like the talent that he brought to the table. You got two established starters. You looked at safety, and just between Bray Hubbard and Keon Sabb and Zay Mincy and Ivan Taylor and Drake Kirkpatrick Jr., it just like that's a loaded position group. And so Husky seemed like the clearest path, and the fact that Jira Edwards had so much experience as a nickel defender on the high school level kind of seems like he was tailor-made for it. He's got that length. He can do the man coverage stuff, the zone cover drops. He can, blitz off the edge, get after the quarterback. He's a sound, aggressive tackler coming downhill, plays with violence, has quality length, and he's got experience, like I said, as a slot, as a safety, as a box defender. And so it felt like a natural fit there. And so I was actually really surprised to learn that he was actually playing Husky and was playing safety and not Husky. But at the same time, it's still only a few practices in. We do have to remember that Chuck McDonald is, a very talented player in his own right. He was a former, I think, the number 57 overall player in his respective recruiting class, with a top 10 cornerback, has a great physique, really well put together. He's physical, great speed and athleticism. So, there's a lot of qualities that you like from him, in there as that potential Husky too as well. But, as far as the dime defense and getting extra defensive backs in the field, I definitely think that could be something where you maybe see Edwards get involved. But, they're going to have a hard time getting guys like Ivan Taylor and to some extent Zay Mincy, and as you mentioned, Drake Kirkpatrick Jr., and maybe a Chuck McDonald. There are a bunch of guys. Carmelo O'Neal being another one who I know the coaching staff is really high on. I think he can play safety. He can play corner. Could probably play Husky as well. Even though I don't think he has a lot of experience playing that type of position. But just their secondary, it's loaded. It's a good problem to have. But just for a guy like Jira Edwards, it might have to be something where 2027 is more of that year for him where he really starts to get involved, with Keon Sabb and Bray Hubbard expected to move on. But at the same time, if he ends up working his way onto the field this year, it will not surprise me one bit. I love the talent. I love how he could potentially fit in Kane Wommack's defense, but it has, him playing safety kind of told me if he gets on the field, he's going to have to fight, scratch, and claw to make that happen, because there is not a clear path to significant playing time playing that safety position.
Yeah, definitely a lot of names back there right now, and in a secondary group that's already loaded with returning starters, a lot of returning production. So you're right. Not the easiest task to get on the field, but I guess that is a pretty good problem to have if you really think about it. Clint, sticking with the defense, man, week one, I know we talked about going into the spring. Linebacker was a very big piece of this team, this defense especially. What have you kind of been hearing or seeing so far with that linebacker group that looks like it's been consistent with Caleb Woodson and I think QB Reese? At least it appears those guys are getting some of those early reps with that first group. What have you heard about the linebacker group so far through week one?
Yeah, it is still really early, but Caleb Woodson is a name that has continuously come up. I think, if I'm not mistaken, you and I kind of had similar thoughts on him as a player. I liked some of what I saw at Virginia Tech, I think, from a length standpoint, an athleticism standpoint, a hustle standpoint, and just the different things that you can do with him, like against Vanderbilt when they were using him as an apex defender and really causing Diego Pavia some trouble when they were playing Vanderbilt. I love the talent, and I do think that him going from 230 to 238 pounds certainly helps. But I am, I guess by this point, as I've really started to look at it, I'm not as surprised. But based off of what I saw on tape, I was a little bit surprised that he was signed and brought in to be, what I'm starting to view as like an automatic starter at off-ball linebacker. But, you do have the physical tools, the physical talent. He did need to get bigger and stronger where he can kind of hold up better as far as against the run. But the leadership and the hustle that he plays with, I think that's really impressed the coaching staff to a point where, you lost three veterans in that room, three guys who all had assumed some level of leadership responsibility or role. And while they really like QB Reese, he's kind of stepped up as a leader as well. They love some of the other options that they have in that room. They really love Xavier Griffin and how he's developing. I think physically he's a lot closer to contributing than I probably thought he was going to be. a guy like Caleb Woodson and what he brings from that leadership aspect and kind of having that experience, I think that is going to end up making a massive impact on Alabama's defense. So it's a good group. I'm excited to see that competition and how it's going to play out. But right now, I definitely would say Caleb Woodson is the heavy favorite to start at one of those two spots. And then, as I've kind of predicted with QB Reese, he would be my choice. I do really like Luke Metz. I like Caden Jones pretty well, so I wouldn't be surprised if either of those two guys push. You don't want to forget about Duke Johnson or Abdul Sanders, and you don't want to count out a guy like Xavier Griffin. But, it is going to be one of those position groups to really monitor because we all know the importance of that second level when it comes to defensive play.
Absolutely. No, I agree 100%. We're joined by Clint Lamb of Cover Crimson. Make sure you guys check them out if you haven't already on YouTube or any podcast platform at Cover Crimson. You guys can hear them do their show and all the videos that they do post consistently on their platforms, plus on X at Cover Crimson and Clint's personal at Clint R. Lamb. Clint, I want to switch over real quick to the offensive side because one position I hadn't heard too much about was the tight end spot. And I just was curious, have you heard anything, especially regarding guys like Josh Ford transfer from Oklahoma State, or kind of how that position group's kind of coming together? I know we were excited about the new coach that they hired, and Coach Owens, his background seems like he has that edge to him. Any developments there, anything that you've kind of come away with through 1 week of spring ball about the tight ends?
Yeah, one thing that I have heard, and really it was even before, it really didn't come from spring. It was right before spring started, but I heard that the coaching staff is in fact really high on Josh Ford. This wasn't hey, we need another body there. I mean, they had plenty of options returning. You had Danny Lewis, you had Jay Lindsey, Jackson Marco, Caleb Edwards, Marshall Pritchett, you had Max Sutter coming in. So you had plenty of dudes, but they really feel like that what Josh Ford does, especially as a move blocker, you can do different things with him as far as inline. You can line him up as a move tight end and have him come across the formation, get guys kicked out. You can put him as a big slot, flex him out, put him in even as a perimeter receiver, and he can lock on guys out there on the perimeter and get guys blocked pretty consistently. I mean, it was crazy. I turned on some of his tape, and I want to say maybe there was one or two times that I can recall out of all of the times that he was asked to block that I noticed where he didn't get a guy blocked. I mean, it was a crazy success rate. And I didn't watch every snap that he played, but I watched multiple games, and I was extremely impressed. And that's something that Alabama really struggled with as far as the tight ends, their inability to sustain blocks. And I think that Caleb Edwards, they're expecting a big step forward from him. I think that based off of how he was used this past season, he's more of your inline guy. Now, Josh Ford can also play inline. He's certainly got the body. He did do that some, of course, for Oklahoma State, but he's also got a lot of experience with that H-move option. He's not going to be like a featured volume piece like a Josh Cuevas in the passing game, but a guy like Marshall Pritchett or maybe a Max Sutter, if he ends up proving to be a guy who can contribute in year one, which is still a to be determined. One of those two guys, I think, would probably be your volume type of pass catchers. Now, Caleb Edwards is going to see his fair share, but I'm saying one of those featured pieces being a top 2 or 3 or 4 guys as far as targets are concerned. A guy like Josh Cuevas, he proved to be that type of pass catcher. Don't know necessarily that Josh Ford or Caleb Edwards, or Danny Lewis, if he gets into the mix, if any of those guys are going to be that type of guy. Marshall Pritchett, maybe. Max Sutter, eventually, possibly as well. But I will say what they really needed from this group was they needed to play with more of an attitude, which I think they got that in the leadership. It's not that I don't like Brian Ellis. I think he's a fine coach, but he feels more like a quarterback's coach to me. Richard Owens feels like a tight ends coach. He brings this, edge to him, as you mentioned. And I think that that's going to help. And I think that they went out and they got a guy who can come in and really help provide or really contribute as far as the blocking is concerned to try to get that run game going, to try to get the offense as a whole going.
Yeah, I agree. There's something about a coach, like you said, quarterback coach, they have one way of going about it. Offensive line / tight ends coach, a little bit of a different demeanor there and just the way they kind of go about their business. So I am curious to see how that has an effect on the group as a whole. I would imagine it's going to be a pretty positive effect there. Clint, I want to ask you, sticking with the offense, man, we had Landon Tengwall back on here yesterday, and he made a good point when he was talking about the running back position and how he feels like it's almost inevitable that they will improve this upcoming season, not because of, it was pretty poor last season, but really because he feels like the offensive line should naturally get a little bit better this upcoming season. And with that, he thinks the running back should be in a much better spot because it does consist of majority of the same players we saw last season, except Jan Miller moving on, then basically bringing in Xavier Crowell in the mix. So with that being said, Clint, are you under the belief, or I should ask, should the running backs improve this upcoming season? And two, have you heard anything regarding some of these running backs so far through week one? I know Daniel Hill's dropped some weight. We've kind of talked a little bit about that, how that could benefit him a little bit. Not sure it's going to do anything drastic, but could see some positive results. Just your thoughts on the running backs through week one of practice.
Well, I think one of Daniel Hill's biggest issues this past season, he had a couple of issues, but one of the biggest was, I think, from a conditioning standpoint. I think he was banged up, at multiple points, whether it be in the preseason or during the season. That kind of hindered his ability as far as the conditioning and everything else. I think it took him a while to get to a point where he started to feel like he did back in the spring of last year, but he had gained pretty significant weight. I think that kind of hurt him or kind of bogged him down a little bit. So him dropping the weight and getting in better condition and hopefully being healthy and available all throughout the offseason, I think that's going to make him a better player. I think Kevin Riley putting on, 6, 7, 8 pounds of mass is going to help him to some extent. I think A.K. Deere entering year 2, knowing what it's supposed to look like, I think being in a little bit better condition himself, knowing what to expect as far as the physicality, I think that's going to help him as a player. I think Xavier Crowell's presence is going to help the room as a whole because I think that talent, he will, I'm sure, go through some growing pains, but he's the type of guy who you expect to make an immediate impact or contribution. When you look across the board, Jan Miller, he did bring that experience factor. You really had to like what he did at times this past season, but just being in and out of the lineup, kind of, I think, being affected and having some lingering effects from that big hit against Missouri. He just, that is what created the inconsistency in what would have been otherwise a pretty consistent player due to his experience and his age. So, that's something that I think, him not being there, that is considered a loss. But at the same time, the version of what you got from Jan Miller, and a lot of it not being Jan Miller's fault, it isn't as much of a loss as it would have been otherwise. Then you look at Dre Washington, you look at Richard Young, some of the other guys they lost in that room. And Richard, I don't think, fit the offense. He just really didn't provide that juice or that explosiveness. Dre Washington, he was a guy who wasn't really brought in to be a featured piece or a top-of-the-line player at that spot, but he ended up really not having any major contributions on offense. And so I think overall that room is going to see pretty substantial improvement. And it's just it's a matter of determining how much. Even a guy like Trayshawn Brown, I've talked to some people, I guess it was probably about a month ago, and they said that they really like Trayshawn Brown. They really think that he wasn't just a filler, throw a guy in. I think he's a plus version of what N.J. Mathis, Aubrey Walker, and Amari Stab were to that wide receiver room, where it's kind of a late addition. You want another body. But he kind of is like, when they noticed him, and granted, they've had the thought with a lot of these guys, but they really thought, hey, this is the guy who's good enough to play at Alabama and beat Alabama. So I think he's done some pretty good things early on. Don't know that he's going to be a part of the rotation, but I really do like that room as a whole. They got to get better blocking, both from the tight end and the offensive line. They got to get better play calling. They need a little bit more consistency from these running backs, but collectively, I completely agree. I think the run game is going to be pretty substantially improved in 2026.
Definitely hope so. We know how important that is going to be for this offense. Last but not least, Clint, I want to switch back over to defense real quick because I was thinking about this in my head, hearing about all the versatility that they've mentioned here with this defense, whether it's, guys up front, we talk even at the linebacker position, secondary for sure. And the one thing I've always believed is that while versatility is very nice to have for a defensive coordinator, sometimes when you lean too heavily into that versatility, you become a little bit of kind of like a jack of all trades, but a master of none. Is there any concern for you when you think of that? Like with this defense, sometimes it's like, man, like, of course we talk about all the flexibility that they can have up front where guys can play at different spots. But is that always what's best in terms of, hey, we want to be dominant against the run? If we're mixing guys and playing guys in different spots across the defense line, while they might be capable of it, that doesn't mean they're going to excel at it. are you like me and you wonder, is there a little bit of a fine line there with being a little bit too versatile where you're kind of not excelling in certain spots? Or do you feel like with the guys that they have, that's not too much of a concern for you?
I mean, I can completely understand that logic. And I think, to some extent, I completely agree with it. I think you got to be careful because too much versatility can go from, you want to be multiple. You want to, if you're going to do some of the things that Alabama does as far as putting all these bodies on the line of scrimmage, you want to be able to drop certain guys out that maybe the offense wasn't expecting you to drop out and bring certain guys maybe they weren't expecting you to bring. And you want to see those players actually be effective at doing some of those things. Now, granted, every once in a while, you're going to drop Tim Keenan in coverage, and you don't expect him to be a coverage nose tackle. But, at the same time, there are a lot of those elements where you put Justin Hill on the line of scrimmage, and, whether he comes or whether he drops, you feel like he can effectively do that job. Same with Yanzay Pierre. I think to some extent, same with Jamarian Latham. I think as far as the versatility of a guy like Des Zulu and kind of what he brings to the table, Devin Tompkins having that inside-out ability, I do think that it can be very valuable, but they have to be careful. What I will say is that I think, to some extent, the multiple approach, I don't know quite the word I'm looking for there, but as far as being multiple up front defensively, you might see some limitations compared to, previous years because of some of the pieces that you have. You might need to stay in those four-man fronts a little bit more. If you do that, then a guy like Des Zulu is playing in a situation where he's comfortable. You talk about, a guy like Yanzay Pierre, and even if you get Justin Hill and him on the field at the same time, if you're not asking, Yanzay Pierre to kind of play that 4-eye or shift into a 30 front, then I think he is in a position to be successful. But what I will say is that right now, I think that how they can be multiple will be a little bit different than it's been in the past. I think you probably will see more two Wolves on the field at the same time with Justin Hill and Yanzay Pierre. I think they're two of your best players, Justin Hill is certainly one of the most intriguing guys who is not already considered it or is an established starter. And I think the coaching staff is sky high on him. It's not really the cheetah package as far as, what they, had previously with 3 edge guys, but it is more of that nickel rabbits type of package. Or maybe you get some of that. And I do think that they will try to use that versatility to the best of their ability.
Yeah, I do too, man. I love Justin Hill. I think he's definitely going to have a much bigger role, and I think he's going to be a heck of a player. So I'm excited, man. Definitely, 1 week down, plenty more to go. Hopefully we get some of these scrimmages rolling here soon and can kind of get an early glimpse on how this thing is really coming together, and really looking forward to getting to see that. Clint, man, I appreciate you coming on here. As always, man, make sure you tell the people how they can find all the good stuff that you guys are doing and keep up with the latest work that you got.
Yeah, if you want to follow on the YouTube channel, we have a daily show, actually multiple videos a day that we put out. Just search Cover Crimson. If you want to listen to the podcast form, just search the Cover Crimson Podcast Network, wherever you listen, Apple, Spotify, or wherever. And then if you want to follow me personally, at Clint R. Lamb on Twitter is where you can find me. Once again, as always, Christian, I appreciate you having me on, brother. This is always a good time, and I look forward to next week.
Yes, sir. It sounds good, man. Thank you, Clint. We appreciate you, brother.
Absolutely, man. Good talking to you, buddy.
Yes, sir. Always, man. Good deal. Clint Lamb of Cover Crimson. Everyone, we appreciate him joining us every Tuesday at the top of the hour. And hopefully we can get him on the stream soon, man. I think he said he want to try to maybe next week. So hopefully we can do that. But we got to hit a timeout to stay on schedule. When we come back, we'll have a quick break, go right back to another break. Then we'll be joined by the Pastor Payne right here on the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230, WTBC.
The Tuscaloosa Thread News Update is brought to you by Tuscaloosa Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, Tuscaloosa's destination for iconic Jeeps. Drive a new 2026 Ram 1500 Bighorn Crew Cab 4x4 priced at $54,529.
You like saving money, right? We all do. That's why Allstate just lowered the price of car insurance. But wait, there's a catch. Lower. Actually lower. So if you're shopping around or just want to see how much you could save, check Allstate first for a new lower auto rate that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Not available in every state. Only applicable for new auto insurance business. Rates will vary by several factors, including how you purchase the policy. Potential savings vary.
Check one. Can you hear me? Check. I can't hear you.
Oh, I'm on mute. Hold on. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, dang, my bad. I think I was on mute. That's on me. Wait, did you get a new setup?
No, it's my old. I'm just in my house. Finally, I'm just trying to get all my stuff together. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you. Sorry, I was reading.
I'm trying to get my.
All right, perfect. Thank you, Jake.
Hello.
Yeah, about time, man. Got it back to original setup, man.
Well, I need to get my. I'm gonna change the room where I got my stuff. Get all my jersey stuff put up. I ain't did nothing.
Jeremy, appreciate you hanging out with us, man. Be safe going back to work, man. Thank you so much for tuning in. All right, good deal. Yeah, Chase, just tell me whatever's best. I mean,
What up, Chase?
Oh yeah, I forgot Chase is on here too now. I can he'll be back on in a second. Yeah, Chase, if we need to do that, like the quick in and out, or what, you just tell me. That's that's on me, man. That's on me.
I got me one of them chairs too.
Bro, why you got these little gaming chairs? They made the extra wide version for you, man. I think mine's supposed to be the wide version, but that's dang, you got a big old wide chair. All right. Sorry, chat. I was Latoya, what's up? All right, good deal. David says my eyes are stale seeing all these dual threats not do a thing. Russell needs to develop his arm talent. Mac has that arm talent. Whoa, hold on, Davis. You got hold on. You said Russell needs to develop his arm talent. Hold on, Davis. I'm confused. What are you talking about, man? That's what he's got going for him, man. He's got a special arm. That's the first I've ever heard somebody have that opinion. Wait, hold on. I'm confused, man. You got me confused on that one, Davis. And welcome back into this Talking Tuesday. This is the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Big thanks to our guy, Clint Lamb of Cover Crimson, who joins us every Tuesday at the top of the hour. Got to get a little bit of a week one recap in with him right here on the show. Make sure you guys check out all the good stuff that they're doing over on Cover Crimson. Now we got the Pastor of Pain hanging out with us. He's got his, I would call it a little bit of a new setup, but I mean, it's, really just him at the crib. But he's got the mic back set up, Chase. He's got his camera back, normal, right? It looks pretty clear. Matter of fact, let's throw Chase down in there. We gotta get Chase's camera fixed up though. Chase, they gave you like the AOL.com era chip camera. Yeah, Chase is like pixelated. Chase looks like he's on Minecraft. Chase looks like a Minecraft character right now, man. We gotta get
Chase, come on, dog. What you got over there, bro?
Yeah, we gotta get Chase a little bit more high definition there, man. But
give him some of that.
I can't even tell what he just picked up. I don't know if it was a backpack or a suitcase. I mean, I feel like I'm looking at my left eye, which is like 2,200. Okay, Chase got a nice little backpack, man. You get that with your NIL money or what? Yeah, I'm just giving Chase a hard time. Hey, let's do this real quick because I do feel bad. Pat's been hanging on the phone lines for a minute, so I do want to get him on here real quick. 205-342-9904. Let's throw Pat here in the mix. Let Pat come hang out with us for a minute. Pat, welcome in.
I'm doing fine. I'm glad to see you got the pastor with you because my question is for him. I'm hearing all kinds of extremely good things about the offensive line, blah, blah, blah. That makes me think the defensive line sucks. What do you think, Reverend?
Dang, Pat, he directed that towards you, so I'll let you answer that first. He asked you, Pastor Pat.
Well, listen, man, you know, I don't know who's sticky on the line per se because, you know, we talked about this yesterday. Ryan Grubb announcing the right tackle or wherever he is, you know, all of a sudden with no full pass, no competition. I don't know what's going on over there with the trench play, if you will, but it says something. I just don't know, Pat, what it says. I hope that they are spot on choosing guys this early in the spring practice. I hope that the defensive line is better than what it was last year because I need to be upgraded for sure. Because that's going to make the difference in the season for Alabama. It's going to be guys in the trench. I think they got skill players. They've always had skill players, but you know where they've been beat by the better teams have been in the trenches on the offensive and the defensive side of the ball. So something's got to happen. But again, there's no way of knowing because we're so still early into this whole thing. You know, spring we don't really see much. So I don't know, Pat. I'm a little bit discombobulated myself.
Let me throw this in there real quick. I will say, I mean, him being a left tackle, I don't think it's very valid point that you make, Pat. That is a very valid point that I don't think enough people really consider. But I will say in this instance, I don't think it's a situation so much with that because he is a left tackle, which means he would be matched up with guys like Jan Zapier, Justin Hill, even the transfer, Zulu from South Carolina. A group that I feel like is one of our better groups on defense outside of the secondary. So that said, if we are thinking about who he's been going against through those 3 very short practices, at that moment, we've had 4 now, I wouldn't be too concerned about that aspect only because that group is actually pretty solid and that's who he's going to be matched up against at left tackle. Now, if we were talking about the center or any of the guards, that would be a little bit more applicable here in my opinion, but very valid point. But no, I genuinely think they just went off of what they saw last year through practice, the development that he had. And I'll be honest with you, part of me wouldn't be surprised if it is also a thing where they said, hey, this offseason, they told him. And I don't know this. I'm just saying I wouldn't be shocked. If they told him, hey, man, listen, don't leave. I know a lot of people are leaving right now. You know, we're going to get a good coach. You are our guy. We believe in you. This, that, and the third. And maybe that's also part of it. And again, things can still change, but I think that might be why they lean so heavily into him going into spring so early.
Yeah, well, it looks like our defensive secondary may be one of the best that Alabama's had in quite some time. Everything, I mean, on paper, if you can go by paper, on paper they look fabulous, and you know, in the back, and got some decent backups too. But good Lord, that I'm worried to death about this defensive front, and especially the front 7. Because a Mike linebacker, we lost an extremely fast Mike linebacker.
Mm-hmm. Well, I will say if you're worried about speed, I wouldn't be too concerned because Caleb Woodson is a very good athlete. You're talking about a guy that, started his career as a secondary player at Virginia Tech, or at least he was recruited as one out of high school. I know he's put on some weight, but if you watch the tape, he flies around. He's one hell of an athlete. He reminds me of a bigger version of a Justin Jefferson, a very good athlete at the linebacker position, very rangy, can cover a lot of ground. But this guy's 6'3", 238 versus Justin Jefferson being like 6 foot, 225. So imagine like a bigger version of Justin Jefferson. So I don't know if he fits more at the mic, more at the will, if he's a green dot guy or not. But I think with his leadership and his, that veteran nature, he probably naturally leans towards the green dot backer for us in this defense. But you're right, linebacker is going to be really important because even with the guys we had last year that were vets, early on in the season, I feel like their play was a little, subpar at times, but then it got a lot better throughout the course of the year. But you're right, front 7, I think, has all the question marks and all the eyes on it right now because secondary, you know what you're getting. All the production is pretty much returning outside of Damani Jackson. Front 7, pretty much all of it is left outside of Jan Zapier and London Simmons and Justin Hill. So hopefully the transfers that they brought in can make a difference. And hopefully the young guys, like they mentioned, their philosophy was, and according to Kalen DeBoer and Kane Womack, was that they knew a day would come where their backers would need to be replaced, and they felt strongly about recruiting young guys to develop and to throw in these roles when it was time, and now it is that time. So they're banking on these young players to be good players, and hopefully they can be just that, because if not, if that front 7 struggles, Pat, I'm not going to lie to you, I think the defense is going to have a little bit of an issue this upcoming season.
Well, let me pose this question to you all, Scott and the rest of you scholars, even Chase, if you want to jump in here. I feel like this is the most questions that collectively as a fan base that Alabama has had in a long time. I'm talking about multiple position groups, quarterback. I mean, I'm talking about key positions, quarterback, offensive and defensive line. Yeah, the secondary got experience, but the defensive line for years been a big question mark and has not really raised their level of play. Offensive line, same thing. Always been a question mark. Seems like the last couple, 2-3 years, and haven't really elevated their play. Now you throw in the quarterback position, having a brand new guy there, that's got to be the leader of this football team. So when you look at Alabama coming back, it just seems to me, we've been doing this for a couple of years, this might be the most question marks. And I know everybody asks question marks. I get it. But for Alabama, to me, this might be the most questions concerning this football team that I have seen in a long time.
Okay. Guys, I appreciate y'all's time, and bringing in Jarrett Johnson, I think was an extremely good idea. But hopefully he can make a difference. Have a blessed one, guys.
Yes, sir. You too, man. Yeah, listen, Jarrett Johnson, I think that's awesome. He was what years? I think it was maybe late 90s, early 2000s, something like that. It was in that realm, but I think he played a decade or so in the National Football League, and I think he just happened to be going to school again, pursuing his degree, and ended up helping out some. So you're talking about a guy that is on the defensive line side of things, probably helping out with the D-line / outside backers, I would imagine, with pass rush and things of that nature. That's big, and I think it could be very helpful. I don't know if he's considered an analyst. I don't know if he's considered. I don't know what his role is. I just saw Alabama posted. I wasn't even aware that he was up there, but that is cool. But in terms of my dad's question about the question marks, I would agree with that. I think I would agree. I mean, let's just go back. Last year, you had some question marks, but I mean, not nearly. Let me think. I'm trying to think. Chase, you might need to help me out on this. Because last season, what were the big question marks going into last season? Was the secondary the big question marks last season, or was it the year before? Remember, I think it was the year before. I think it was Coach DeBoer's first year
before.
Yeah, I think it was his first year where everybody was saying, no, we don't know anything about the secondary. It's got a bunch of young guys. How's this going to look? They ended up playing really well. So, that is one thing to consider. I mean, again, question marks don't necessarily mean something negative or something bad. I mean, it can always end up playing out really well. You just don't know because it's just that. It's a question mark. But you're right. You're talking about D-line, I would consider a question mark. Linebacker, definitely a question mark. Secondary, no. Outside backer, not so much, really. I mean, I think Yonze Pierre, Justin Hill, and even Zulu come in. I think that's pretty solid. Now, I don't know. Pass rush-wise, I got to see because right now, as great as Justin Hill is, I think he's still developing, as a pass rusher. Zulu, I see the tools that he has, but he hadn't, if I'm just being honest, his South Carolina tape, the rushes that I watched, it didn't really move the needle for me. I think he's serviceable, but he doesn't strike me as a big threat off the edge, or at least he wasn't at South Carolina, in my opinion. Respectfully, I'm just being honest with you.
Maybe he had one sack.
Yeah, I was about to say, I mean, even if you just go off the numbers, I mean, he
really, I know. He has potential.
Right. But
he's not a guy that I don't think, when you look at the roster, that he's just going to be overwhelmingly better than what they have. I think he's a good guy that fits into rotation because he did play a lot and he has experience and I think he can give you. I mean, he got pressures. He got in the backfield. His presence was felt when he played, but he just don't have the eye-popping numbers on paper.
Well, when I watch his tape, I think he just lacked that first step. I mean, he's a long guy, so he's got long strides, but in terms of really threatening that tackle on the edge, I just didn't really see it very often. He just, and then he didn't really he lacked some of the power too. So he kind of was I don't know who I'd give an example of, but it just was he's out there, but it wasn't very threatening where it's I think somebody needs to step up opposite of Yonze Pierre. That's going to be big. You talked about it, I think, last week. there's going to be a lot more attention on Yonze. Last year, we didn't really know who was the guy. He came along, especially as the season went on. Going into this season, I think he had 8 sacks last year. I mean, you know how it is as a pass rusher. They're going to circle you. He's going to see a lot more chip protection. He's going to see them putting tight ends over there, trying to, throw off his rush angle, even just put him in the C area. That way he's got to get out, cover some more ground. So I think whoever's opposite of him is going to have some opportunities. And it's big. I mean, Kane Womack's talked about that. They got to find a way to generate more pressure with just 4 guys. Last season, I think they felt the need to really dial up a lot of pressure because they didn't really have, we talked about that. They didn't really feel confident that they could just send 4 guys and really get home. And I think that was a problem. You look at the Indiana game, they got caught a couple times, right? They went in basically 0 blitzes because they're trying to force the issue, which I was all for. I'm like, hey, if you're going to pressure, you got to get after Mendoza, do what you got to do. But if you're going to sell out, somebody's got to get home. There's a couple times they went those 0 blitzes, nobody got home, and they got beat deep, right? Because Mendoza did a great job, right? Recognizing cover 0, taking advantage of it, and came up with some big plays. So a pass rush is a really big deal to me. I mean, Yonze I feel great about, but I do have a question mark, about who is going to be opposite him, who is going to be his counterpart, right? I mean, I know they got some guys that they brought in via the portal, but they're more interior players. You know what I mean? Like Devin Tompkins. I know he can play a little bit of bandit, but I don't see him as being some tear off the edge at 298 pounds. I think he'd be a lot more productive rushing out of the 3 in those sub packages. So you're right. There's definitely a lot of question marks, but we'll have to see. Let's hit a timeout check so we can stay on schedule. It's that time. When we come back, we keep on rolling. If you guys want to squeeze in a phone call, we got time, 205-342-9904. We got the passer paying on here. We'll keep talking some football when we come back right here on the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230, WTBC.
Do you have cracks or potholes that are dragging down your property's appeal? Hey, I'm Christian Miller, and at Asphalt Restoration, we transform driveways and parking lots with expert repairs, new paving, or resurfacing. Fast, durable, and family-owned quality.
Man, this dog is so spoiled. The bag of dog toys, man. Gave him like 2 of them. And he just keeps trying to go back into the bag looking for more. Like as if what he's got is not good enough, man. Spoiled dog, man. Well, yeah, hold on. Let me catch back up on this because Davis said, look, man, Russell's a dual threat and he likes to run. Not that he doesn't have an arm, but he's not a pro-style quarterback. He's like a Jaden Daniels at best, but Mac is like a better version of Jordan Love. I mean this with all due respect, Davis. Have you seen these guys in person? Like actually, like, or are you going like what are you basing this off of? The only reason I say it like that is because I mean I've watched both these guys all last year in practice and scrimmages, and I don't see. I respect, but I completely disagree with what you say. What you're saying. I mean, I saw the exact opposite. In my opinion, Keelan Russell has the better arm talent of the 2. Like, I think you're kind of just going off of like body types here, man. Honestly, like, yeah, Keelan can scramble. He's definitely an athlete, but I wouldn't even label him like a. I wouldn't label him like some, dual threat quarterback in the likes of like a Jalen Milroe type dual threat quarterback. Like, while he definitely has escapability and great athleticism, Keelan Russell he spins that football, man, and he's not necessarily looking to just run first. You know what I mean? Like, not saying that was what Jalen was doing. I'm just saying, like, when you think of a dual threat quarterback, like you're describing, I mean, I think of like Lamar Jackson, Jalen Milroe. And I know there's different types. I'm not saying all dual threats are like that, but you're kind of putting him in that category as if like he's a run first guy and needs to develop his arm. And I couldn't disagree any more than that. That's that dude. That his specialty is throwing the football. Like I said, I mean, I watched him do it all last season in the off season. Spring, fall camp. Now he'll run when he needs to run, and he's got great athleticism. But hell, Mac runs too. Mac can he can scramble too. If you're saying he's scared in the pocket, I don't think he's scared in the pocket looking to run. I mean, we can pull up the tape and I'll show you. It's not anything about that. I think as a freshman, Grubb literally said last season he has the best arm of the three. Who? Ryan Grubb said that about who? Austin Mack. They both can throw the football. Listen. I'm telling you off of what I've seen. I respect Ryan Grubb's opinion. I mean, he sees them every day. He sees them more than me, but I'm not going off of what I've heard in an interview or like the 30 clips or 30 plays I've seen of them. I'm just telling you what I've seen like on a consistent basis, brother. But and welcome back into this Talking Tuesday edition of Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. We're talking some football. We got the pastor paint on here. We got Chase now on the screen, man. Chase got that camera turned on. Chase, we're gonna find a way to upgrade. Not only that though, I think we might need to fix the internet too, because Chase's camera freezes like every 5 seconds too, man. I don't know what kind of setup they got Chase with.
He's either frozen or he's very stoic.
He's frozen. No, he's frozen because I was wondering that too. But the connection's good though because we hear him just fine. But it kind of goes back and forth. Did you get a chance to watch these quarterbacks last season a little bit? Austin Mack.
I watched Austin Mack against Indiana. Listen, I was, and that's a very small sample size, but I like Austin Mack. I think he had great poise, stepping into that game when it was basically over. But I mean, getting all kind of crazy pressure, from the defensive line of Indiana. I think Austin Mack is going to be a really good player. I really do. I mean, only thing I've seen from the other kid is just, highlight videos. And he does have a very live arm. That's the word I would use for him is live. He has a live arm and he can spin it. And but when you say dual threat, many people are going to think run first type of quarterback. I don't think that's him at all. I think he's a passer. He's a thrower of the football. I think he runs when he has to, but his wish would be to complete balls down the football field. And I think he can do that. But I like Austin Mack. I love his size at 6'6", 235. I mean, stands in the pocket. He also is athletic enough to run when things break down. You talk about improvisation, and you talk about improvising. I should say, excuse me. When things break down, he can get outside. He can extend plays, eyes downfield, looking at complete balls. I like him a lot. I don't know who's going to win this thing, but if I had to, guess, or if I had to pick one guy right now, I'm going to say Austin Mack's going to be the starter at the quarterback position, at least to start the season, because I think he has more experience. He's older. I think Kalen DeBoer is going to catch this word, everybody. Trust Austin Mack and his leadership and his experience more so than the young kid, than Keelan Russell, because he has played some, he's been with them, and he knows the system. And when you know the system, you're going to be comfortable. It's like taking a test. If you study and you prepare, right, Chase, to take the test, you go up in that classroom with a level of confidence, man, that, hey, give me this paper because I'm getting ready to ace this thing. I'm getting ready to do this and walk out of the classroom while y'all sitting there scratching your head. That's what I'm saying. Austin Mack, he got that kind of confidence in this offense because this is 3 years he's been in it. So Russell's still learning. Russell don't have those live bullets yet. Yeah, practice. Yeah, coming spring, you can't touch them. They got the colored jersey on. Austin Mack has that over Keelan Russell. That's why I think with his size, with his experience, his age, and having limited playing time, but he has played, I'm thinking he's going to be the guy that Kalen DeBoer is going to give the keys to first, and it will be up to him to keep that job now. But I think he's going to feel the pressure from Keelan Russell because he is so talented, highly talented. He's going to have those wild plays. He's going to have those moments out there at practice that's going to make people go, wow, this dude is it. So he's going to have to fight him off, but that's why you like competition, Ryan Grubb. That's why you don't announce the starter yet, Ryan Grubb. That would be like Kalen DeBoer coming out and said, Austin Mack is my guy. He's a starter. There's no questions. Okay, let's not ask that anymore. But what's that going to do for the young guy? You're going to be looking to transfer. That's why you don't say anything. You say both these guys are working their tails off. Both of these guys are highly competitive. They're getting ready. We like both these guys. These guys are going to give us a chance to win games, but we don't know right now who's that starter going to be. So you keep that on the hush hush. But Austin Mack will be the starting quarterback to start the season for the Alabama Crimson Tide. That's my prediction, and I'm going to stick with that.
Listen, and I agree with a lot of the points you're making, even to our guy Davis in the chat. Like I said, there's no hard feelings. I wasn't trying to say, oh, man, you're wrong. I'll be honest with you. I think he's just going off of like the few clips that he's seen or what he's heard. And I'm just saying, like, the description for Keelan Russell, if you just say, oh, he's just a dual threat quarterback and needs to develop his arm, if you talk to anybody in the building, they couldn't disagree anymore with that. Because, I mean, the guy, if you just watch him throw, I mean, he has a lot of zip on the football. I would argue he has more touch on his passes than Austin Mack. Like, I always tell people, like, last spring it was, I think, when there was a true quarterback competition going on, right? I mean, Ty was definitely, it's kind of his job to lose being the backup the year prior. They gave Austin Mack a number of looks, right? And I remember going into one of the, one of the spring scrimmages. He got an opportunity to run a lot with the ones, which again, all of them did. But you know how it is. If a guy's been having a good week of practice, they might bump up his opportunities, right? He might get a few more reps with the first team than usual. That was kind of that deal. And I just remember, I mean, he could have been nervous. It could have been one of those days. I don't necessarily know. But his touch was he was a little inconsistent with some of the stuff that he was doing. And I love the body type that he has. I mean, the big quarterback, strong arm, like you mentioned, the experience that he has, his time being with them at Washington, coming here. But like Carson or somebody had mentioned in the chat, if he in fact just had the best arm in that room, experience-wise, I mean, he was pretty much neck and neck with Ty Simpson in terms of, I mean, I know maybe Ty had a little bit more game experience, but still not much. But he had more experience in the system. So if that's the case, without a doubt, he would have even probably started over Ty. Why didn't he, right? He wasn't fully there yet either. So I'm just saying this. I think it's a little bit closer than people might think. I don't know which way it goes. I think at the end of the day, they give the job to whoever operates this offense better and they feel is going to give them a better chance to win football games. I think you win with both. Me personally, I just feel like Keelan Russell has a little bit more of that it factor than Austin Mack. In my opinion, that's just kind of what I've seen out of him. Like, he's going to be able to do some things that other guys just might not necessarily do, but is that going to beat out the guy with a little bit more experience in the system? I don't know. We'll have to see. All right, we got to get out of here. That'll do it for us in this Talking Tuesday edition, but we will be back tomorrow, same time, same place, doing it all again right here at the Miller's Edge. Tide 100.9, 1230, WTBC quick time. No, not quick time. I'm sorry. Final timeout. And we'll see you guys tomorrow right here. Tide 100.9, 1230, WTBC.
If you need a quality zero-turn mower to cut your grass, check out the...
Appreciate you, Chase. It's just so funny how this quarterback conversation gets everybody all like, no, he's this.
Always
he's that.
Quarterbacks going to do that.
It's always going to do that. It's just funny. I'm like, listen, first of all, I could not care less who starts. I mean, if you can play, you can play. Like, that's what it boils down to. I'm just telling you guys what I saw. You guys come and listen to me because you guys want to get my thoughts. I'm going to give you my thoughts. I mean, if you guys feel otherwise, no big deal. But I'm just telling you what I saw. I know what Grubb said. I'm just going off my opinion. I know what Grubb said about a lot of stuff last year, and I can tell you I don't agree with a lot of it. I think a lot of other people disagree too. And so that's all I'm going to say. Like, Austin Mack has a nice arm. They like him a lot. Like, I even think Austin Mack is a good player. I think people just think, the problem is people, it turns into a one versus the other. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think of it like that at all. Like, not even the slightest. People kind of turned into that. I agree with you guys, to be honest with you. I think at the end of the day, I think Austin Mack, I've said this for weeks, I think Austin Mack probably gets the start initially, right? I mean, you're talking about a quarterback position. I mean, I think it's going to be hard for them to not at least give him an opportunity, given that he's waited his turn. He's been in the system, right? Just like I said last season, right? When everybody was trying to tell me that Keelan Russell was going to start over Ty Simpson. I'm like, guys, it's not going to happen. Like, you got a guy with experience, even though he hadn't played a whole bunch. The fact is, though, he at least, you know what I mean, has been in college, up to speed. And I I told everybody last year when they were so quick to say throw Keelan in there, like Keelan was throwing, several interceptions at practice, right? Like that was a very consistent thing for him, which is normal. He's a freshman. He still was getting up to speed with things. He still was trying to learn. Like the system that we have is literally, oh, dang, we're about to come back real quick. All right, dang, I didn't realize we had one last final thing. All right, perfect.
829. That's 800-923-6829. What do you have to lose? Call 800-923-6829. Again, 800-923-6829.
Alabama fans are all over the world, and we are too. Download the Tide 100.9 app right now in the App Store and Google Play, and take the Crimson Tide everywhere you go.
And one last final hi and goodbye right here on the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. This officially wraps it up for us today here on the show. One big shout out to our friends over at R&R Cigars. Make sure you guys check them out. You got March Madness coming up. You got a whole bunch of sports action coming at you. Make sure you guys check them out over at 2703 Gary Fitz Street, R&R Cigars, rnrcigars.com, code Miller's Edge for 20% off. Over 160 bourbons that they got there for you to try, drink responsibly over at our friend's place, R&R Cigars. Make sure you guys check them out, the official cigar provider of Alabama football since 2014. That'll do it for us on Talking Tuesday, and we look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow right here, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC.
You've been listening to the Miller's Edge, tackling sports daily.
All right, perfect. There we go. All right, there we go. Back to that whole deal. Appreciate you, Chase. That was perfect, man. Thank you. Yeah, to be clear, like it ain't about like who ends up winning. I promise you guys, like it really is not a big deal to me. I just offer you my thoughts, but you know what's going to happen if Keelan starts and doesn't live up to expectations? Fans are going to crucify him, same way they did Hurts or Milroe. I mean, I think they're going to do that with anybody, brother. I mean, that's just kind of how fans are, I mean, hell, they started to crucify Ty for a little bit, briefly. They started to briefly, then I think the news about his injuries and stuff started coming out. I think that they had a little more grace for Ty than they might have had for some of the other guys that you were mentioning. But yeah, I mean, they'll turn quick, man. We know how this fan base can be, and really any fan base, period. But yeah. Anyway, put a bow on that whole thing, man. Look, at the end of the day, you got two good quarterbacks. Personally, I think you're fine, really, with either one. I just speak off of my perspective of what I've seen out of the guys. Not saying that it's better than anybody's or right. I might just have a little bit more context, just given I've been able to see them in practice and kind of, both get reps with the ones. I've seen them get reps with the twos. I've seen them go through that whole competition last year. It's harder for me to explain it, right? Like, how do I put this into words, man? Like Mac was impressive, but they're just like, he needs to be more consistent. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just like, in practice, I think he can be a little bit more consistent. Like, if you guys don't believe me, ask a coach, ask any of these people that are in the building. I mean, they'll tell you the same thing. I think his consistency was one thing, and Keelan's wasn't quite there either. But it's like, all right, Keelan is a true freshman that just got here, that doesn't have a full grasp of the playbook, so he's still kind of fighting that battle of transitioning. Versus Mac is what, year 3 for him last season. You know what I mean? Like, there were just times, like I remember last spring, like one day he looked like, yeah, he did have the best arm in the room. Then there's other days I'm watching him dirt footballs, overthrow guys. Like, that's why I have the tune that I have, because that's what my eye saw. You know what I mean? Like, at practice, not during a media viewing period, like at practice. All right. Like, Coach DeBoer is cool. He lets former players go up there and watch practice. Like, I mean, I went to a lot of practices last year, and that's just what my eye saw. what my eyes saw with Keelan was him extending some plays, him, similar to that play. I know people were saying, well, he missed some guys, but still, like, just that factor of, he stops on a dime, flicks his wrist, and ends up scoring a touchdown. Like, yeah, he could have scored by throwing, to his earlier reads, but it's just some of those things that I've seen him do in practice. Like, not everybody has that ability. Smoke, I'm gonna read your super chat to him when he comes back. What's crazy is if Julian Sand stayed, would he have rode the bench because Milroe and Ty were rewarded, or would he have started? That's why I think Matt could surprise everyone. I mean, listen, I say what I say about everything, man. Listen, whoever wins the competition wins the competition, right? I mean, like, the best player will win. I tell people that all the time. Like last year when everybody was like, oh, well, it's this, because I'm like, man, at the end of the day, whoever gives you the best chance to win football games is going to be out there. I mean, people have to remember, this is college football where there's jobs on the line, a lot of money involved, right? In terms of like the school. I'm not talking about like, yes, paying players is a thing too, but this isn't, rec football or even high school football. I mean, there might be some situations where there's some little politics here and there, but for the most part, man, listen, if you can play, you can play. You're going to be out there playing. So I just always say, I mean, like, whether it's Mac, I don't give a shit if it's one of the damn true freshmen. I really could not care less who the quarterback is. If all I ask, you out there, man, 150% effort, do what you got to do and help win football games. I really don't care who it is. I don't really have an attachment with these guys like a lot of people do. Respectfully, I just don't. I just root for my alma mater, man. Honestly. Hey, you got a super chat by Popcorn. You got a super chat you need to hit real quick. By the way, Christian, you were one of my favorite players. Had not been for the injury during last year of the season, I think that game would have been a little bit different. Hey, man, thank you so much. I appreciate the love and support, man. Thank you so much. Honestly, I mean, I appreciate the words. I don't know if one guy would make or break a game, especially, in a national title game like that. Like, two really good football teams. Clemson had a really good team that year, man. Like, I definitely think getting a little bit more pressure on what's his name? Trevor Lawrence. Yeah, I definitely think getting a little more pressure on Trevor Lawrence could have maybe helped a little bit. But if I'm just being honest with you, man, like, collectively as a team, man, we didn't show up to play the way we should have played.
That's what it was.
We were what?
Stink. Terrible.
Yeah, no, we stunk that game. I'll be the first one to tell you, no, we stunk that game. And I take accountability. I mean, even though I didn't play, I mean, I was a team captain that year, and unfortunately, we weren't listening. But I will say this: I do take pride in the fact that I tried everything I could. Every time we had players only meeting, I mean, I repeatedly harped on locking in, man. We got one last week, man. Like, all your attention and focus should be on this one thing right here. To hell with the girlfriend drama. To hell with the agents that are hovering around our hotels out here in San Fran. Like, I literally sat there in those meetings, and because I was a fifth-year senior, and I knew I played for our team in 2014 where I redshirted, where I watched. We had a team that we didn't really know exactly how the team was going to be. Blake Sims, he won the job. It was basically the Blake Sims, Amari Cooper show in 2014, right? Like, we lost that game to Ole Miss and ended up making that was the first year of the college football playoffs ever. Long story short, we go to New Orleans, we go play a really good Ohio State team, and we lose. And I just saw
third string quarterback.
Yeah, to a third string quarterback, Cardale Jones. You roll your eyes like that, but to be fair, like, listen, bro, they had a really good football team. I mean, that was Ezekiel Elliott. That was Michael Thomas at receiver. That was Joey Bosa. Several guys in the defensive line. I think their linebacker just got charged with unaliving his girl. Anyway, they had a team that was arguably just as talented, if not even potentially more talented than what we had that year. Not making excuses, but I'm just saying, I was a member of that team.
Sound like that linebacker.
What line? I'm not making excuses. Dude, don't do that, man. I'm not making excuses. What I'm saying was, that year, like I learned a lot from that season. That was my first year of college football. I learned a lot on just even the approach, the whole process and all that. I learned a lot. 2015, I was a part of a national championship winning team. And I saw the collectiveness that we had as a team. I saw the accountability on that year's team. I saw the leadership that we had on that team. You know, the once, because that year we started like, we also lost to Ole Miss. It was back-to-back years we lost. We had a quarterback, not controversy, but, you know, it was Cooper Bateman, and then they benched him. They played Jake Coker. He ended up taking the job. And then I saw us really come together. Everybody rallied behind Coker. Derrick Henry was a workhorse. He was that bell cow in the backfield. Calvin really stepped up, you know, as a young wide receiver. Ardarius Stewart, watching him do those things that, like the you know, I mean, the physicality in his blocking, you know, blocking guys 20, 25 yards down the field, like some of those selfless acts. And like I saw what that team had and how that led us to winning the national championship. 2016, I was a part of that team where we got upset down in Tampa, lost at the last second of the game. I mean, that was arguably probably one of the most talented football teams I've ever that probably was the most talented team I've ever been a part of.
That was a terrible loss.
I mean, listen, man. I mean, we also had an offensive coordinator
basically
get
over 100 yards in the first half.
Right. Bo got hurt. Our offensive coordinator dipped. He went and took his head coaching job. Shout out Lane Kiffin, man. Steve Sarkisian, who was like on the way out of rehab, took over, who was kind of relapsing. I'm not trying to tell his business, but he was having issues during that bowl season.
Lane got kicked off.
Yeah, and he did. But I mean, again, not to tell all his business, but yeah, I mean, Sarkisian had a little bit of an issue when we were doing some bowl prep, and then he ended up taking over to call the national championship game. Did a good job. I mean, for a guy that had been with the program, I mean, very briefly. But I'm just saying, I mean, like, and again, not making excuses. Clemson beat us.
With a hangover?
The dude, huh?
He's coaching with a hangover.
So it was all right. So for our bowl game, he was having some issues, and then it was not long after we beat. Wait, hold on. Let me make sure I got the years right.
That was Tampa.
No, I know, but it wasn't. No, he took over as the OC for that game.
Lane Kiffin got told to go home.
Yeah, he told Lane to go ahead because Lane wasn't doing a good job of balancing because he took the job with FIU. And Lane wasn't doing a good enough job of balancing, prepping for the bowl season, and then also, doing his thing over at his new school. But I just remember
that was two coordinators who had alcoholic problems at the same time.
Yeah, probably not ideal to have those guys. Probably not ideal. Anyway, what I'm getting at is I just learned a lot from all those years. So I just knew going into this season, I could sense that the team was a little bit. We go out to San Francisco. We go out there early because I don't know, like you guys probably know, like you go out when you play, at least it used to be like this, a little bit different now. But we would go out there like 5 days early because you got to get adjusted to the time difference. And then you also, have to practice out there. We got media and engagements that we have to take part in. And you could just tell, man, that the agents hovering around the hotels. I mean, dudes going and exploring around California, getting into shit that they shouldn't have been doing.
Lots was going to Maryland.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, you should have won. Literally, you should have won.
I should have won 4. I should have. Yeah. Well, I hate saying like I should have. We should have. You know what I mean? Like we should have won 5 national championships.
Well, I mean,
I know what you mean. I always feel weird saying like.
I'm saying you because I'm talking to you, but
No.
Alabama that easily could have won 5 championships in a row. Easily.
I wouldn't say easily, and here's why. I think, like Ricky said, I think you're over that Ohio State team in 2014. I mean, like,
man, Cardell Jones, come on, man, please,
brother. That he played, dude. Let me pull up his numbers from that game, dude. Like, let's not act like he. Like, yes, I get he was a 3rd string quarterback because they had Braxton Miller, then they had JT Barrett, then he had to play. But let's not act like he was some scrub. Like, let me see his numbers from that game.
I had 220.
Nah, he had more than that. Let me see. And you know what's crazy? We only lost 42-35.
Well, what's
some
the name
reason-
got hurt?
Well, I think didn't Reggie get a concussion? If I remember correctly, Reggie
I
had
was just safety. What's the name?
Landon caught Reggie.
Yeah.
Reggie got a concussion, so Sean Dion, who's a true freshman, had to go in.
And the safety went out.
Landon Collins, yeah. So I mean, but that's
It's my lunch.
No. I'm not calling you. No. No one thinks you're casual. No, man. No. No. I wasn't saying it so much like you. I was saying in the sense that I always feel like a lot of people make that comment. Like, man, if you didn't go down, we think. I'm just saying, like,
you could have helped.
No, I do believe I could have helped, but number one, I hate making things about myself. You know what I mean? Like, I appreciate you guys feeling that way. I definitely think I appreciate you guys. I mean, that means you guys definitely thought highly of me as a player. I've just always, man, I don't know, man. Maybe it's called imposter syndrome, but I never give myself enough credit. Like, especially playing at a place like here. Like, I understand, like, if I had a healthier career, I mean, without a doubt, I had 9 sacks my senior year. If I didn't get hurt my junior year, I probably would have went for 9 at least as well. I mean, I was on that path. Before I got hurt my junior year, I was having like one of the best off seasons. Every spring game that I played in here, I had 3+ sacks. Like, I mean, I know I was a good player for sure, but I'm always just I'm like reserved when it comes to talking about myself. That's all that was. You're not in the wrong for saying that. I mean, I do think I probably could have helped a little bit, but do I think we would have just won if I was healthy? I don't know. Just because Clemson was a really good football team. And then, listen, you got to give credit to them. Like, while we played bad, like, listen, our secondary was playing with terrible eyes that game. Terrible eyes. We were doing a lot of uncharacteristic stuff. Tua had a little bit of a rough game. But you got to give credit where it's due. I mean, Trevor Lawrence and Justin Ross, bro. I mean, they were playing some damn good football, you know?
Trevor Lawrence was a freshman.
Yeah, he was. But I mean, like, there's no denying. I mean, the dude wasn't he a number 1 overall pick? Like, I mean, let's not act like he's just some. I mean, Cade Klubnik, who had a lot of hype, and then, you know, might be like a mid-round pick. Again, I still think Cade Klubnik is a talented player, but like we're talking about a guy that ended up, I believe, being like number 1 overall draft pick to Jacksonville. You know, so yeah, he was a freshman, but he was really talented, and he had a lot of weapons around him. Like, let's not act like the defense that they had. Their whole defensive line was really good. I mean, Austin Bryant, I remember him. I think he ended up being like a 3rd-round pick or whatever. He played a few years in Detroit, if I'm not mistaken. Christian Watkins is interesting as that dude is. He's a damn good football player. He's a top draft pick. Huggins, maybe.
Farrell, something.
Yeah, I mean, they had some good players, man.
Yeah, good players. I mean, not better than y'all. I mean, right here.
I mean, one could argue that. I mean, they beat our ass out in California. I mean, well, listen, we were really good. My senior year, we were really good too. Cleveland Farrell, that's right. Yeah, I mean, I remember their front four. They called each other like the Power Rangers or something. I don't know what that was about, but yeah. I'm just saying, like, yes, in one world, yes, I do believe we should have won probably 4 national championships. I mean, yeah. I was able to play in 4 straight, 2015 to 2018, and I do believe we should have won it. We should have won in Tampa. Like we were the better team. Like that one, I'm with you.
Y'all lost. The games y'all lost, you lost because of y'all, not because some team just better than y'all.
Well, my senior year, I would argue that Clemson team, like, granted, yes, we played bad that game. We played bad. But I would argue 2016 and 2018 are 2 different types of games, because in my opinion, yes, 2016 when Bo got hurt, like, we were playing some damn good football.
You had the lead with the number 1 defense in the country, basically.
Basically, I mean, that defense was stupid, man. Dude, I mean, you know how many points we scored defensively that year?
I know.
And I was just like, I wasn't just like a reserve. I mean, I played, you know what I mean? I rotated in there. I think I had like 3 sacks that year in reserve time. But no, I mean, Tim and Ryan, I think Ryan was like an 8 or 9 sack guy. Tim was like almost a double-digit sack guy. Jonathan Allen, damn near a double-digit sack guy. Deron Payne. I mean, that front seven, Reuben Foster and Rashawn Evans at middle backer, Sean Dion Hamilton. God, dude, that front seven was nasty, man. That front seven was nasty, man. You were the first edge that had that quick twitch. Before you was bullies coming off the edge. You and Tim Williams. I appreciate that, man. Yeah, well, yeah, I'll throw Rashawn in there too for sure. Because, you know, they recruited me and Rashawn for that reason. I mean, that's what Coach Saban literally told me and Rashawn, right? Like, he said, we're trying to go in a new direction at the outside linebacker position. And you know what? I really need to send Johnny Manziel a thank you letter. Because if it wasn't for Johnny Manziel, I might not be at the University of Alabama.
Crap.
Because to be honest with you, no, I'm being funny, but I'm saying, I mean, Coach Saban basically said, I mean, hey, we have no choice but to recruit, you know, lighter, more athletic, lengthier outside backers to combat what college football is adapting to and evolving to, which is, you know, dual threat quarterbacks. And Johnny Manziel terrorized the Alabama defense for a couple of years to the point where Coach Saban said, enough of these 265-pound jacks. We need some 230-pound rabbits. And well, I guess Tim technically was the first. Well, Tim was in 2013 was the first kind of under that mold somewhat.
Yeah.
But then me and Rashawn, yeah. No, but I really do appreciate you guys. Seriously, again, I'm not trying to make it seem like, oh man, I'm not disagreeing with you guys. I mean, it's like I do believe you know, I definitely was a good football player, but I don't know. I feel weird talking about myself sometimes. But thank you guys. I appreciate it, man. Seriously. You think Dabo would be a good Bama coach if he replaced the
No.
Oh wait. Oh, I'm sorry. Smoke. I missed a super chat. Hold on. We got a super chat from Smoke, man. I'm so sorry. I was waiting until you got back because it was directed to you. Smoke, I apologize, man. Thank you so much for the super chat. Seriously. He says, at Pastor, how good is this Alabama team? Pros and cons. It's kind of hard for you to go off of because there's so many new faces, but.
Well, I mean, the real answer would be not very good based on what they lost and who's coming back because it's unknowing. Now, you know, they were a good team last year because they made the playoffs and made it to the SEC championship game. They were a solid team. I mean, they went 10 or 11. But
they were 10-2 in the regular season. Then they lost to Georgia and Indiana. So I think they ended up being like 11-4.
Okay, but you win 11 games. That's a good season. Now, is it the standard Alabama wants? No, but
really, but is it that far off? Just really think about that. Just, I mean, think about Coach Saban's last few years. What they did last year was really not that far off of what Coach Saban
I'm giving them a good. They had a good team last year.
No. I'm asking you that. I'm asking you that because sometimes I think we almost are a little bit too nitpicky. But if you think about Coach Saban's last few years, I mean, I'm saying 23.
They were a team that early on they were better. I thought the team got worse. I didn't think they got better. Okay, and the losses that they had was glaring losses, and they were dominations. We talked about this in the trenches, where Alabama normally are much better and much further ahead than other teams. And we've seen Oklahoma, we've seen Indiana, we watched games that were prime. Georgia in the SEC championship game. There were prime time games where they were dominated. And everybody saw the script A and Alabama getting punked, if you will, in the trenches. That wasn't good. Now, did they win 11 games? Yes. Did they go to the playoffs? Yes. Many people thought that they shouldn't. Maybe they were right because they proved that they weren't an elite football team. Were they a good football team? Yes. Not elite. So, to answer your question, Smoke, I don't know how good they are going to be this year right now. If I was a betting man, which I'm not, or my projection early right now is I think they're 8-4 team. I think quarterback an issue, offensive line an issue, defensive line an issue, inside linebacker an issue. These are critical key positions. And so therefore, just looking at the unknowing and how they have struggled in the years past in those critical positions, and you don't have a trigger man. I know this. If you don't have a proven trigger man, you can't win at a high clip. You can't win at a high level. That's what I know. So,
but you just talked about Trevor Lawrence as a true freshman. So I'm not saying
that. Talk about the defensive line.
I know.
They had weapons all around him. This team does not, and so we can sit here and pie in the sky you and lipstick on a pig you, right? But the reality is, too many unanswered questions, and so therefore my answer would be, I think they are above average team. If I was using a scale, grading scale, it would be a C+ type of team, just because they do have talent. If you go by recruiting, they have 5 force. They got that, but nothing right now makes me want to feel like, that this team can go out and just dominate anybody. And that schedule is going to be hard. It's going to be tough. I don't know I know Russell is highly talented. I like Austin Mack and his side. I just talked about that on the show. But at the same time, neither still have played a lot of football. And to me, that's a big question, especially if you don't have a supporting cast. And the supporting cast is unanswered right now, especially offensive line for the quarterback and lack of running game. That type of thing, the things that normally would help a young quarterback, Alabama does not have. That is a huge concern for me. So I would say a C+ type of team, maybe. If I had to have an early prediction, it would be an 8-4. It would be 8 wins. For most people, that's a pretty good year. That's a top 25 team, but I think they're going to be, 15-25 type of team, and not a 15-1.
See, the problem is you'll say things that I definitely agree with, and you take it further than I would be willing to go. Right? C+, if you're calling them C+, I mean, who would you rate? Hell, even a B. And would you give anybody an A? I mean, who are you?
No.
Right. So now that we set that standard, I think that gives a little bit more context here.
That's too much parity right now to give anybody an A, and you lose too much. There's too much movement. These portal guys, everybody's jumping around. We don't know what they're going to be.
Right. Well, I'll say this. I mean, looking at the schedule, I think the first 5 games, I'll pull it up real quick. I think if you win the first 5 games, I think the floor is more like 9-3. If you go 5-0, I think the floor is more 9-3 personally. If you drop one of those first 5 games, then I do open the door. I mean, yeah, like Jake said, 8-5, I think, is the national or the betting total. I don't know the terms.
I only played 12 games.
Huh?
I only played 12 games, so 8-4.
No, 8.5, right? But in betting, right, there's always like a half, right? Because it's got to go one way or the other. I'm gonna put their schedule up on the screen real quick. Let me do ESPN because you can see it better. All right, let me see. Let me share this. Thank you, Smoke, for that super chat, man. Seriously, I appreciate you, brother.
Blow it up.
Is it too small? Hold on.
There it is. All right. 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, 4.
That's what I was saying. I think the first 5 are definitely. I mean, they can go 5-0. I mean, South Carolina is going to be an interesting game.
Is South Carolina in Columbia again?
No. We got them at home.
Okay.
So that which is good, but
yeah, they're going to go 5-0.
That's what I'm saying. I expect us to go 5-0, and that's why I think. On one end, if you look at the schedule, yeah.
Well, hold on. Let me. I don't listen to you too much.
No,
How can I? I don't know what they're going to do against Kentucky. I don't know FSU. We talked about that again last. South Carolina, I have no idea, but they got Lenore Sellers back. His little brother who's pretty good. I don't know. I don't know.
No, well, that's why I said if they go 5-0,
they're going to drop one game. So they're going to lose to somebody. They will.
I wouldn't be shocked given that it's early in the year and I expect them to have
Early in the
growing
year,
pains.
quarterback still not coming, but they're going to drop to somebody. And I
So
think
say
that-
they do there, and then okay. So say they do there in the first 5, they drop 1. These would be their last 7. You got wait, where do we stop off at? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 was Mississippi State. So yeah, Georgia through Auburn would be 7, and this is why
Tennessee going to be hard. That's a loss.
Tough.
They might lose.
Yeah, but there's a
3-4.
lot of
They could lose
question marks.
4.
Tennessee has a lot of question marks, man. Playing on the road at Tennessee, 100,000% agree with you. It's tough, but
I don't know.
Them as a football team right now, they have a lot of question marks themselves. I mean, what are they doing at quarterback? Did Aguilar end up getting that injunction approved, or I don't even remember what happened with that.
I thought he transferred.
Aguilar? No, he was trying to get an extra year eligibility. Anyway, to me, I mean, yeah, that stretch alone, like, in my honest opinion, I think it's very realistic you go 2-2 during that stretch. But that's why I was saying, if you go 2-2 during that stretch and you drop 1 early on, that's still 9-3. But you're right, you don't have much room for error. I'm not saying you're far off by. That's why I think 8.5 is fair when you look at, a lot of the youth, a lot of the question marks, and then also the schedule. I mean, my thing is when I say I think you take it a little bit too far, I would just say, like, what you deem as question marks, which are 100% question marks. I'm not disagreeing with you. I just feel like some of it isn't, I guess, in my eyes, going to be as drastic or as much as a drop off as maybe you might see. But I also understand. I mean, I'm around a little bit more, so it's a little bit different. So I totally understand that. Even with the quarterback position, I understand not having a proven guy as a trigger man. Like, I agree with you. I know, like, growing pains are expected, but in my honest opinion, I just look at Austin Mack and Keelan Russell. I look at both of those guys, and I feel like I would be just as comfortable with rocking with them as I would probably 75% of the other quarterbacks in this conference. I can't really think of too many quarterbacks, even guys that are returning, that I feel like are just light years ahead of what Keelan Russell or Austin Mack could do once they get their feet wet. Personally, I don't see anybody. I mean, you got Gunnar Stockton, you got Marcel Reed. I'm just looking at the guys that we are definitely playing against. I do like Byron Young of Auburn. I do like him. They've lost so many pieces. I have no idea what they're going to be. But I do like that guy at quarterback. Arch Manning at Texas. But I guess what I'm saying is, like, last year, I know everybody said the same thing. Oh, Alabama doesn't have a proven quarterback. And I kept saying, I think Ty is going to surprise a lot of people. I think he's going to be better than people are giving him credit. And look what happened. He ended up playing himself into the second quarterback on NFL draft boards. And at one point was looking like the best quarterback in the country. So while everybody was highlighting that, oh, well, he hasn't played, I kept saying, well, I would be a little bit patient on him. It's not like he's played and he wasn't impressive. It's just he hasn't played yet. Y'all are just going off of, because you haven't seen him. A similar deal here with Austin Mack and Keelan Russell. Y'all are kind of going off of just what you haven't seen. Going off of what I've seen in practice, I wholeheartedly believe that one of the two, if not both, can definitely be good enough to win this football team some games. Sorry, guys, I'm getting tired, man. Talking for 2.5 hours, it's tough. But I think it all is going to matter about other things, like the offensive line. Like, I don't worry so much about the quarterback position as I do the offensive line. The running game. If those two things are better, I'm really not so concerned about who's the quarterback. But if we still got issues with the offensive line, if our running game is still an issue, we're in for a long year. I'm more curious to see how this defense looks, because I think people just assume that you just bring in some transfers, and just because they transferred in, that automatically makes them so much better than what you had. And that's just unfortunately not always the case. And I just know last year, I mean, we had some decent quality players. And our defense was solid. It was a top 25 unit, but I also remember people complaining a lot about, the defense guys up front not being super dominant, linebacker play not always being what people maybe were anticipating. And so I just don't understand necessarily how people just say, okay, you bring in Devin Tompkins, you bring in Terrence Green, you bring in Caleb Woodson, and assume that all of a sudden that answers all the issues that people have been complaining about the last several years. Personally, watching their tape, I don't see those guys, making this defense return to what it was before. I think they'll be good players. I think they'll be better players here than they were at their previous stops. But what are we truly expecting? I personally think you'll probably see a similar output as what you got over the last couple of years with the guys we had prior. I don't see them being that much better than those guys, though.
Well, there's a lot of question marks. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
I got to get out of here.
All right, I'm right behind you, man. I need to take a break. Appreciate you jumping on.
Yes, sir. I'll holler probably Thursday.
All right, good deal. That sounds good. We'll see you then.
All right.
Later. All right, good deal. I'll wrap up real quick. I guess I don't know. I hit a couple of these questions real quick before we get out of here. Christian, do you believe it's fair to judge the present Alabama team / tenure off of the past success, or do we allow Alabama to grow and manifest its results in this new era? That's a good question. I would say it's probably a little bit of both. I don't think it's fair to compare every single little detail or say, oh, this should be like this, because number one, I don't think it's fair. Number two, I just don't think it's realistic. Not just because college football has changed, but also just given the fact that, dynasties don't live forever, right? There's a reason why they're so special and they're so hard to come by. And I think if you're forever comparing teams or, staffs to an era that literally, like we just talked about, I played in 4 straight national championship games, which is kind of crazy to think about. That was just an expected thing. I think you do need to reset expectations if you're a fan, especially in today's day and age. But I also believe that to an extent, like it's okay to have certain standards. That's kind of what makes Alabama a special place. And I would almost argue that if you come here and don't expect to have those things looming over your shoulder, those shadows back there, whether it's from fans, administration, whatever, then you're sadly mistaken and you're going to be in for a rude awakening, So I think to an extent, it's very normal, especially with it being so recent. But I think it is important to kind of recalibrate your expectations. So I think a little bit of both is true. I don't think you should compare this group directly to, the old Alabama per se, but I think they should still have a standard. I always make the comparison to, Ohio State. Urban Meyer retires. Ryan Day takes over. As long as you're kind of in that realm, because even Coach Saban technically wasn't living up to the same standard that he set previously in some of the last seasons that he had. He did win the SEC championship his final year and was, a couple plays away from playing the national championship game. But realistically, there was a little bit of a dip in his own standard. It just is, it's inevitable. Nobody can really sustain that. When you, don't even include NIL. Even from perspective that, think about, the revolving door he had with his coaching staff. Clemson didn't deal with that. They had the same coaches for years. That's tough to do. So, I think as long as you're competitive, as long as you're doing what Ohio State, what Georgia, what Oregon's doing, and consistently you're, top end of your conference, you're putting yourself in position to make a run in the postseason, that should be the standard. To me, that's the new standard. That's still a high standard, but it's not an impossible standard. And I think that's very fair to ask because we have the resources. We built a foundation. We have really good players. We recruit really well. To me, I don't think there's any excuse why you can't consistently be one of the top 3 teams in the SEC year in and year out, why you can't be a playoff team regularly, just like you see out of the likes of Ohio State, Georgia, hell, Texas, Oregon. I mean, I think that is the standard. That should be the new standard. Now, if you're talking about personal players, comparing those guys, I think you're setting them up to fail if you're comparing them to guys that were, some of the best players to come through here, man. That's tough. What's a good sign, though, is already naming Jackson Lloyd, which I predicted. Carroll, obviously, at right tackle or guard. Thought Strayhorn at center, but Delgatti already. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's about perspective. I guess I just had to disagree with you a little bit more, Davis. I don't think you should have named him starter publicly right now. I do like the fact that they have an idea on the direction that they want to go. I'm all for that. I'm cool with that. But coming out publicly and saying that he's our left tackle, no one's close because he's the guy, in my opinion, was unnecessary. Let those guys keep competing. Make that guy earn it, especially if you're talking about a football team that there's been questions about the attitude and the mindset. I mean, it's kind of like, this is not a great look when you just come out and say, oh, yeah, this guy's our starter and he hasn't started a football game before. And we're only 3 days into spring practice. To me, that just was uncalled for. Keep that to you and the coaching staff behind the scenes. Thing we have to take into consideration is there's not a lot of players doing what Ty Simpson has done. Or the old Bama players, hard to build something when kids are leaving after year one. Yeah, that's true. But I will say we are a little bit of an outlier because, I mean, believe it or not, our roster has very well been retained over the last couple of seasons. So we've been fortunate. But you're right. For the most part, that doesn't happen. But so far, they've done a good job of retaining the talent, and that's their philosophy. I mean, that's what you grow to realize about this staff. They're going to prioritize recruiting high school talent, really good high school talent. Raise those guys up, develop them, and bank on retaining them and letting them grow into their respective roles. You're seeing it with the offensive line. You're seeing it at the linebacker position. That's the approach that they're taking. I love that idea. Is that the best idea? I think partially, but I think we could do a little bit better job of being slightly more aggressive in the transfer portal when there are glaring needs, right? I think you marry the process that they're taking now with the high school talent with, all right, when we go to the portal, if we have some holes, like in my opinion, at inside backer, I know you've been raising these young backers up. That's cool and all. But I would like to have at least one established guy. Hell, if he gets beaten out, he gets beaten out. I know it might suck to pay a guy a lot of money, but I hate to say it, but if you want to have the best odds of having success, that's kind of what you got to do. I mean, a lot of schools are doing that. And I just think we might have leaned a little bit too much in the dependency on our young talent, which I could be wrong. I mean, we could see this season that their plan is the ultimate plan, and there's a reason for that. But part of me I just can't help but wonder, could we maybe be a little bit more aggressive in the portal for some, true proven players? We'll find out soon. But if I had to guess, you'll probably see yeah, we probably could have used another guy or two that were like true plug and play guys. Just my opinion. That's what I'm talking about. Giving raw details, honest insight, something a lot of these podcasts feeling the channel, I will definitely be tuning in. Hey, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate that. Well, I always tell people this, man. And again, I'm saying this not to say we're better. The reason we probably feel a bit different is I'm actually a broadcaster. So, I mean, I do it professionally. I've been a sideline reporter. I host a post-game show for the football team. My dad has been in broadcasting for 20 plus years. And then on top of that, we're, honest individuals. Now, he clearly says whatever's on his mind. I try to make sure my delivery is always as respectful as possible, especially when I'm critiquing, right? Especially talking about my alma mater. But no, I appreciate the compliments, man. But yeah, I mean, again, all due respect to everybody else that does content. It's not to make it seem, I'm just being honest. The reason you get that vibe is because, I mean, we kind of take the approach of we're former players turned broadcasters. And so I think a lot of content, especially like team specific content that you guys probably listen to, is a lot of time it's a lot of like, you know, like big fans, which is cool. I mean, that's part of it. Like a lot, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's evident where if someone's a big fan like that, which I'm a big fan of my alma mater, of course, but like they're going to view it from their lens where like it's almost like there can be no wrong done. But for us, I mean, we just go off of our personal experiences of playing the game and now covering it professionally. And so, we're just going to be honest because at the end of the day, that's our credibility. That's why I tell everybody, like, I'm going to always try to be, as respectful and pro Alabama as possible. But at the end of the day, my credibility is on the line. So I can't just sit here with a straight face tell you guys, oh, yeah, I think we're going undefeated when I'm sitting there seeing a bunch of flashing lights that, hey, this is not ideal for a football team. So, but I appreciate that, man. Appreciate you tuning in. I didn't realize you were a new listener, man. Thank you. Appreciate that. Another reason you got to respect Ty. Waited his turn, develop, grabbed his chance, start. Yeah, man. Yeah, it's definitely a little bit rare nowadays. So shout out to Ty for that. Milroe, same thing. Milroe, hung around. Shout out to guys like Milroe. Shout out to all the guys. I mean, even I'm trying to think, there's probably some defensive guys that probably did it too. Savin Hubbard being back, yeah. Yeah, secondary's deep, man. It went from 2 years ago being a little bit of a question mark itself, and now it's for going on 2 years now going to be probably the strong suit of this defense, which on one end is cool and all, but man, being an edge guy myself, man, I want to see us get some dogs up front, man. I want to see us getting some dogs up front. If I wasn't so tired and drained, bro, I think this weather's got me. I would pull up some tape and talk some football with you guys, but I don't know. I forgot what I wanted to pull up, man. Austin, what's up, man? Christian, way too early outlook on it. The pass rush as a whole will look improved, decline, or relatively the same in 26 to last year. Man, that's a really good question. Man, it's kind of early for me to tell, but just kind of going off of now, I honestly think like my outlook, my way too early outlook, like you said. Now I'll have more thoughts once we kind of get into some spring scrimmages and I get a little bit better of an idea. But I would say I feel like it's going to improve some, and here's why. Last year you went into the year with no proven. JD, man, have a good one. I appreciate you hanging out with us, man. Have a great day. Excuse me. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Last year you went into the season with no proven pass rusher, right? I mean, we were asking that question, who is going to step up? The year before, I mean, you had Q Robinson, who was doing some good stuff before getting hurt. I mean, but going into last year, you looked at Quay Russaw, you looked at maybe Yanze Pierre. That was a big question mark. And we didn't really get that answer until, a few games into the season, before Quay got hurt. He looked like he was coming to life and figuring some stuff out. And then we all know Yanze stepped up even further once Quay got hurt. And that was a big deal. Coming into this season, knowing that you got Yanze back, to me, is always good when you got one guy that you're like, hey, man, we know this guy can get after the quarterback. Like, we can trust this guy can go make plays. So I feel a lot better about having a proven guy, but I'm left questioning who's going to be that other piece to him. I mean, I know they brought in Zulu from South Carolina. We talked about him a little bit earlier. I'm hoping that he can take another step here in Tuscaloosa under Kane Womack, but the tape that I watched on him at South Carolina, I watched like 6 games. I think he's, serviceable guy, but I don't see him as like, I don't see him developing into some like dominant threat off the edge, Justin Hill, I think's got potential. We know what he can do setting the edge, but can his pass rush take that next step? That's why I've said this. I think Alabama needs to hire like a pass rush coach, like a true pass rush specialist. I just, like, Freddie's my guy. I love Freddie. I know he does a good job working with them, but I just think it would be very beneficial to have somebody to really work with these guys on like real deal pass rush, right? Like the art of pass rush. I know they've got, was it Jarrett Johnson working with them? Hopefully that's beneficial, but long story short, I think it should be maybe a little bit better. Also knowing that you bring in a guy like Devin Tompkins, I think he can provide more rush from the interior. Last year, I don't think we had great interior rush. I mean, James Smith, I felt like he was capable of doing so much more. But I do think Devin Tompkins, if you put him in that 3, I think he's going to be a much better asset getting after the quarterback than we've had. So I'm thinking you got Yanze, you got Devin Tompkins, Terrence Green. I'm curious to see him in those situations at nose. He's got a lot of length to him, a little bit more athleticism than a guy like Tim Keenan. But we got to find that other guy opposite of Yanze. Can Justin Hill take that next step? Or maybe you go to a young guy. I mean, maybe Xavier Griffin continues to put on weight and you see him on some third down packages. I mean, that dude has explosiveness and athleticism off the charts if you go back and watch his high school tape. So I would say definitely a good chance that it's improved a little bit. Plus, we know it's a point of emphasis this offseason. I know it's a very long-winded answer. I apologize. But I would say at least the same. I don't see it declining personally. With some of the moves that they made and knowing that they're going to really try to emphasize that and put these guys in positions and probably create some packages and flexibility for these players, I don't see it getting worse. I see it at least being the same and potentially a little bit better. But somebody stepping up alongside Yanze would be ideal. Really good question, though. I'll definitely start talking about some pass rush more, especially as spring progresses. That's a great question. I was going to pull up the quarterbacks. What game what was that early game again? Was it Louisiana? Who did we play? I mean, I can pull that up. I think I was going to pull something else up. Maybe it was the quarterbacks. Terrence Green, Justin Hill come up. Yeah. I mean, listen, as physical as Justin Hill is, and he's a good athlete. I mean, I know he's a power guy, which, I mean, he can build off of that. I mean, if he's a power rush, he can be a power. I mean, Will Anderson was like that. Will Anderson loved to be a power guy because of his explosiveness, and they have similar body types, actually. I just always used to be, I used to tell Will, like, his power would be so much more effective if he, like, the more he works the edge, man, and threaten those tackles with speed. Will was just so dominant that, like, he didn't even have to do half that stuff. But, when we had Yanze on here, like, that's why I was telling Yanze, man, like, you don't have to get rid of the spin. Like, work your spin. But you have to set it up, right? I mean, pass rush is like playing chess, right? I mean, it's a match between the defensive player, whether it's an edge guy, tackle, nose, whatever, and that offensive lineman. You know what I mean? And this is like a battle. I mean, and a lot of it is mental. So, Mercer, is that who it was? Oh, you're talking about from the year before. Oh, that's what's got you so high on Mag. That's the throw you're talking about. That was a good throw. I agree. You're talking about it was like the back pylon of the end zone. Let me see if I can find this. Let me find it for Davis, man. Let me show some love to Davis because he loves his guy Mac, man. Let me see if I can. Wait, it was after. It was later because I think Ty Simpson went in first, right? Was it this? Yeah. This your favorite play right here, man. This is why Dave was trying to give me a hard time by talking about Keelan Russell being a talented thrower, man. Let's see what Davis talking about. Let's see what we got. We got a 2-by-2 formation offensively, right? See what Mercer's playing. Playing quarters right here. Yeah, no, that was a beautiful throw. I know exactly what you're talking about when you mentioned it, man. Against quarters, man. Yeah, I mean, ball placement don't get better than that. Great catch, by the way. That was a hell of a play. I'll give it to him. Like I said, I mean, he's got an arm. He's got an arm, but you just got to remember, I mean, like Ty Simpson had throws like that too last year, but then there's some moments and then a little bit later in the season where, you know, there's some inconsistencies where, you know, had some throws that weren't, you know, so you gotta look at the whole picture. That's all I was saying. Like, yeah, I mean, when you look at that stuff, Austin Mack is super impressive, but like sometimes in practice, I mean, that's got to be a consistent thing. That's all I was trying to add there. But I like Austin Mack. I mean, I thought he looked good. I thought that wheel route or that out and up that he hit, I think it was one of his first throws when he came in that Indiana game. I thought that was a dime. I mean, he had Jeremy Bernard or whoever that was in stride on the sideline. I mean, it was perfectly placed, hit dude in stride. I mean, it was smooth, man. We've seen him roll out, scramble when he had to when they played who was it? Was it Eastern Illinois last season? I thought he looked better than all the quarterbacks, even Ty included in that Eastern Illinois game. So I want to be clear, like, just because I talk very highly about Keelan Russell, it's not a takeaway from Austin Mack. I think he's a damn good quarterback. We're not going to be shocked if he gets the first snaps to start the season. I'm not going to be shocked if he goes on to be a really good player this upcoming year. It's just when I'm looking at the two, and if I'm saying, hey, it's close, it would be hard for me not to say, man, this guy Keelan just has another piece to his game that just not a whole bunch of cats have, man. That's the problem. I don't think our pass rushers are being taught to set up their moves. They just kind of rush the quarterback. Yeah, Money, I'll be honest with you, man. That's one thing that I felt like I've noticed for some time, man, like wanting to see more moves being thrown. Like, you know, I feel like I saw a lot of guys just kind of running down the middle of tackles and offensive linemen, not really having a good plan, not countering. It just was kind of like, hey, man, we're just going to just run upfield and just, you know, run into these tackles, try to overpower them. And that's just not, you know, that's not how you rush. You know, I mean, you got to set stuff up. I mean, if you're an edge guy, especially, I mean, if you're Myles Garrett, hell yeah, go ahead and bull a tackle. But you know what's crazy? Even as big and strong as he is, he doesn't just do that. He knows better. He sets it up. That's why he works the edge. He works his dip. You'll see him do some ghost stuff. I mean, he does a whole bunch of a plethora of moves. Then he gets to his power. Why? Because you're setting that tackle up. When you beat a tackle with speed and you do it consistently, what happens? He starts feeling threatened. He's jumping out of his set. He's flying upfield. He's playing high now. Gives you that ability to really catch him off guard, get him in while he's in his kick step, and you can lift him off his feet. You know, you got to set stuff up. I mean, you always have your fastball, sure, but you got to have a counter move off of it. He was in a position of privilege, and he viewed that privilege. Oh, wait, maybe Patrick's a little bit earlier in the stream. Maybe that was when we were talking about Aiden Holloway, maybe. All right. I'm gonna get out of here because I'm lightheaded, guys. I feel like we've been talking for years, man. But hey, it's been fun, man. I feel like we've got some new listeners on here. Shout out to you guys. I appreciate you guys hanging out with us. If you guys haven't, man, hit that like button over on YouTube. If you're listening via X, definitely shout out to you guys. But if you have a YouTube channel, always just ask, man. If you don't mind, just head over to YouTube at some point, subscribe to our channel. Hit that like button over there. That just helps us grow our channel. YouTube's one of our main platforms that we use outside of radio, so that helps us out. But trying to think for tomorrow, I think we got Gray Robinson coming on here. Maybe I'll try to get a player, or like a former player. Maybe I'll see if one of my teammates will jump on here tomorrow. I don't think we have anything set up, so I might try to do that. And then Thursday we're already loaded, and then Friday. Free for all Friday. So look forward to doing all that with you guys. Appreciate you guys. Y'all have a great rest of y'all's day, and look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow.